and everything before that applies to the SCJC. Then utilize video and audio recordings, that's for all courts.
Yeah. So video,
Utilize video and audio recordings for all cases,
All court cases.
all court cases, but we also need access. Somebody help me work in the
Yeah,
access.
Okay.
Totally agree with
Mr.
that.
all
Chairman.
right, let's do this.
The first part of the sentence restricts it to the Commission on Judicial Conduct. We'd need a separate sentence to deal with other courts.
Right. Okay. So I think that's what we're building here. So why don't we start that sentence? Video and audio recordings should be used. Should be used for all cases.
I'd offer an amendment to that. We don't know that there'll be those things. I'd say simply, there shall be a record of all proceedings available to the public.
But I'm requesting that they give us video and audio recordings, and I also need that the parties involved have access to those video and audio recordings.
Problem is, if there are no recordings, they'll tell you that.
I am telling them, we will have video and audio recordings.
We are essentially asking the legislature to create that requirement.
Right.
And if I might, small one,
Yeah.
one of the things that was mentioned in the prior discussions on this and in the testimony was that it was a requirement from the state as part of all of the COVID processes, because all of the courts had to go online for a time. They all had to get this equipment in the beginning, and so they still have it, and it is maintained. So that shift has already happened. They all have this equipment. They have to use it when they do Zoom hearings and other things. So it's there, and they're asking that they be required to utilize it and keep the
Thank you.
recordings.
Okay, I think I know how to do it. The very last word should be preserved for all court cases for the public access.
What if instead of saying used and preserved, what if we said video and audio recordings should be accessible? Because I think used, if they're accessible, then it is implied they will be used.
Okay.
Video and audio recordings should be accessible and preserved for all court cases for public access.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the implication
Shall-
part,
shall.
we're talking about judges that
Should.
know legalese and can work their way out of implications. So I would ask that we please keep in that they shall use video and audio recording.
What instead of use, why don't we say shall be created, kept accessible, and preserved?
Scott, we might be creating a problem here that there are court cases that, such as juvenile courts, that cannot be public.
Yeah.
Could you speak in the mic, please?
Juvenile cases are not allowed to be public. All court cases for public acts. I'm looking at public access.
Well, the interested parties is what I wanted, was the interested parties is really what I wanted.
Yeah. Okay.
To preserve the video and audio for the interested parties.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's right too. So. Okay, I think the language would be video and audio recordings shall be created, comma, kept accessible, and preserved for all court cases, for all interested parties in all court cases.
There you go. That's what I wanted.
And then take out for public access.
I would,
I have a question. There are
Yes.
two categories of courts. Courts which are courts of record and those which are not. Frequently, municipal courts for smaller communities are not courts of record. Therefore, to appeal them, you appeal by trial de novo to the next higher
Okay.
court. Do we want to impose a restriction on those non-courts of
What,
record.
what if we change cases to of record? Would that satisfy that?
Well, he had a good, what was your suggestion?
My suggestion was all public court cases.
That'll work.
Well, non-courts of record are still public proceedings.
I don't think this would include all public court cases. I think there are some sealed proceedings where you would still want to keep the video records
Exactly. Thank
for
you.
review by the parties who are legally allowed
Thank
to
you.
access those. So, yeah. All right. So, okay. Now, I don't think we've actually got a motion made yet. Do you want to make this motion?
I made this motion,
Okay.
and it took me a little time to get the language with y'all's help. We
All
don't
right.
have a second.
Okay. Is there a second? That's been seconded. All in favor of adopting the highlighted language, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right. That passes.
I'd like to make a motion, all right?
Make your motion.
After the word record at the end, I add the words for a term of no less than 36 months, for a period of no less than 36 months.
Can we just say for at least 36 months?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Is there any objection to adding that?
No.
Hearing none, that's added. Okay. Jeff, can you make a motion to work in the civil asset forfeiture language?
yes, I
It
would.
may just be another sentence.
It literally, I would like to make a motion to add abolish civil asset forfeiture as a final sentence, or the next. It would probably need to be the last sentence. If there's anything else that needs to be added, probably go before that, just for logical purposes. But that would be.
I think just to keep the structure the same, let's say civil asset forfeiture shall be abolished.
There you go.
Nice.
All right. Is there any objection to adding this language? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, that passed. Brett.
So one last thing. We heard a lot of testimony, especially from Judge Schenck, about how the current commission has a lot of foxes watching the hen house kind of a thing. And the point was to get a majority of the public on the board rather than a majority of the professionals. We removed the language. I'm not having a problem with that. But I do think that in some format we need to put that back in order to rectify some of the problems that are on this.
I think his point was that a lot of the transparency that we're doing is going to reform the commission kind of naturally, because the entire reason they're able to get away with a lot of the things they do is that none of these complaints, findings, and conclusions and rationales are kept, and so people don't actually know what happens. So I would kind of suggest
So
that
transparency will fix it?
let's see how far transparency gets us.
I'm good with that.
And then 2 years from now, we'll have an excellent window to recommend changing the composition. Peyton.
All right, sir, I'd like to make a motion that we remove the words of record after courts, because a court of record is maintaining a record, and I think what really prompted all this to begin with are the courts that don't have any records at all. And so by that language, you're excluding the biggest problem.
All right. So I'm not an attorney. Is court of record, so someone who is or used to be, is court of record a term of art for referring to a kind of, like it doesn't
Yes.
literally mean a certain person is keeping the records, but it's a term of art for a certain type of court?
Yes,
It
it's
is.
a term of art.
Okay.
For example, San Antonio municipal courts are courts of record. Many small communities, municipal courts are not, and the difference would be by striking that language, we would impose a requirement on small communities to expend funds creating
Right, yeah,
these
we're
records,
not at-
which ultimately are not going to be used again.
And
Right,
my
yeah,
motion is not to remove all the red, only the words of record, or I'm proposing
Okay.
to remove.
Is there a second? All right, that's been seconded. So just debating against this, I think I agree with what you're saying. This is not intended to force the Madisonville City Court to keep all this information for my speeding ticket when I go appeal something like running a stop sign, right? This is about, and if I did want to appeal that, I would appeal it to a court of record. So, which would then create, like, if there was really a serious issue happening there. So I think this is just about being prudent to make sure that we're only going after the people that we're really trying to improve,
I think
and not creating a giant burden for the entire state.
This came part from the equal parenting problems and the feeling that the courts were not being fair to everybody, and they were just hiding it and dealing with the judicial mishandling or poor judicial discretion, let's say. But that's what that was, I think, originally geared towards, is family courts, not your traffic courts. And there's a serious problem there.
So, okay, so keeping the words of record in there would accomplish what you're saying? Yes, it would.
Could I make one comment?
Yes, go ahead.
The trial de novo in plain English means a brand-new trial.
Right. Johan?
Do I understand correctly, we're looking at striking all the words in red? Because if you strike all those
No.
words...
It should just say of record.
Okay. Because otherwise, what is the video and audio of?
No, the word courts shouldn't be read either. The discussion here is, does this only apply to courts of record or all courts?
Right.
And I think my argument is we're not interested in creating a brand new requirement for the municipal judge of West University who only holds court 4 hours every 2 weeks. You know, like that. That's not what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to accomplish these. Yeah, exactly. So, Jeff.
One, and then to get to the question that was originally part of this when the of record was being discussed to eliminate, saying that, like, if they're already courts of records, they already have records of this. And this is that they were very clear about this, that it is the type of record here that is the question, because video and audio recordings take down things that are not recorded in just court reporter methods, like tone of voice, body language, other things that people can go back and see the entire proceeding, hear everything that was said, and not just someone's written interpretation of that. And so that is what they are looking for, not just that they have a record of the proceedings, but that they have this quality of record to go back to.
Rick, are JP courts courts of record?
They may or may not be.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor of removing this language say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. All right, that fails. Is there any further discussion on this I keep saying platform, priority? Yes.
I'd like to make an amendment.
Yes.
So after video and audio recordings, I would say of all proceedings.
All right, is there a second? All right, that has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. That passes. All right, is there any further discussion on this priority?
Sir, I'm
Janaria.
sorry to interrupt you. I have somebody in the gallery here who's heckling us. It's very difficult to focus. Right over here, she's the phone lady.
Okay. Okay, please, there should be no noise whatsoever coming from non-committee members in this room. So don't be on, if you have to be on the phone, if you have to talk, please go outside. Okay. If
I made a comment and she didn't like it and she's trying to get me removed. Regular order.
Okay, this is a committee.
Regular.
Okay, yeah.
Where's our sergeant at arms?
Okay, you're disturbing the proceedings right now. Please be quiet.
I think she's trying to get thrown out.
That's not what why would I try to do that? I
Okay.
down here. Why would I try to get thrown out? She's
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Okay. Can you please be quiet? Thank you. Okay.
And I will continue to be quiet, but I'm not going to put up with lies.
Okay. All right. We're back in order. We're back in order. Are there any further motions on this priority?
Call the question.
All right. You don't need to because there are no further motions. Oh, wait. Okay. There's no further discussion. Okay, yeah. She needs to leave. Okay. 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 If you say anything else, okay, can the sergeant at arms please have her leave? I'm asking you to leave. Please leave. Yes. Yes, we do. Okay. Okay. She needs to be kicked out of the room. No, we're not going to recess. Yeah.
This woman right here didn't like.
Okay, no, out of the room is that direction.
Underline.
All right.
Right. Freedom of speech doesn't exist in your committee. I'll make a note of that.
Okay.
Because I said nothing, even all.
I'm sure the live stream heard me too.
All right. It's our first one. We made it all the way to Wednesday evening, and that's our first one. So I think we've done a pretty good job. Dan Tully. All right. So is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote on the main motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. And that passes. All right. What do we have next? Oh, that one should be easy.
Move to adopt.
Yeah, we already spent a lot of time on this one, if I remember right. There was a motion to adopt was made by Rolando Garcia.
Seconded.
That has been seconded. Is there any other, any debate, amendments, anything on this?
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion.
Say your motion.
After speaking with Dr. Oliverson, he expressed the opinion that it would be useful to him, should he be elected speaker, if we had a declaration for Republican members of the Texas House to sign publicly in support of this proposition. Therefore, I suggest at the end of the sentence, we include the following language. We further call upon the Republican members of the Texas House of Representatives to sign a public declaration in support of ending the practice of appointing Democrat chairs to committees.
All right. Yeah. Can we do that one more time?
Yeah. Sure. We further call upon.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna make a motion while we're doing this for one thing. I'm just gonna be real clear. It's either both chambers or none. Sorry. It's either both chambers or none.
Well,
I know
okay. This is out of order. A motion's being made. Is it? Can we get the rest of the text and then see if there's a second?
We further call upon the Republican members of the Texas House of Representatives to sign a public declaration in support of ending the appointment of Democrat committee chairs.
Okay. Is there a second? All right. That's been seconded by Spencer. Okay. Were you seconding the motion?
I was seconding, and then I also want to make an amendment.
Okay, an amendment to the amendment? Go ahead.
So where it says Texas House of Representatives, I would just like to change that to Texas Legislature to include the Senate as well, please.
All right.
One last comment, sir. He expressed the opinion it would help support him in that effort.
Okay. Is there any debate against that amendment? Was there a second to the amendment? Yes. I think you were seconding it, right?
It would just be House Representatives.
All right. Okay. So is there any further discussion on that amendment to the amendment? Seeing none, we're back to the overall amendment. Is there any discussion here? Robert.
I would make an amendment to the amendment.
Yes.
So instead of saying of ending the appointment of Democrat committee chairs, I would say in support of this legislative priority. Sure.
Yeah.
So at the very end, where it says of this so he's putting it. So basically, I would remove ending the appointment of Democrat committee chairs, and I will replace it with in support of this legislative priority.
I'll accept
All right. So that has been moved. Is there a second? That's been seconded. Okay. Here's my concern here, and this is maybe two things that I'm concerned about. One is it makes it twice as wordy, and I think part of why this priority is so effective is that it's short and speaks to one specific thing. The other thing is that you could do this with any legislative priority. Like, why don't we put a public declaration on the I don't know, on the casino gambling one? Like sign a declaration before we go into session that you won't support casino gambling, or put it on school choice, or put it on anything. I don't think this is an effective means of enforcing. Like, it's a self-enforcing legislative priority where even if they didn't appoint any Democrats and they supported a rule change, if they didn't sign a public declaration, they would still be breaking it. Which is, I don't know. I have trouble with that. Rick?
The House caucus had followed a similar procedure on another matter previously, and it was useful in putting pressure on the members who are accustomed to hiding behind a secret vote, and would assist, in my opinion, in helping get this done.
Debbie?
Could we just not relay that to the committee that will be handling the priority, so that they could do that as part of their committee work? I mean, I don't see putting this in the actual priority, but, they'll be working this hard as a LP committee.
Yeah, I'm given to agree with that. I think this is more a question of implementation than of conduct. Like, I mean, of course, RPT could put together pledge cards and encourage people to sign it, or sign a letter or something like that. I don't know. The past couple of years have made me kind of skeptical of efforts to get everybody to sign things also. But this is, I don't know. I'm against this, but Rhonda?
Can we call for a vote?
Okay. Motion has been made for a previous question. Is there a second? Has been seconded. Is she still out there?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. All right. All in favor of moving to a vote on this amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And the amendment we're voting on is, we already approved did we already approve legislative priority? I'm so distracted by the shouty lady. Okay, we'll vote on that first. All in favor of adopting the words legislative priority instead of ending the appointment of Democrat committee chairs, please say aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
may I suggest that the Sergeant at Arms for the convention be called?
Yes, I think we actually do need to do that. Can someone radio the convention team to get? Yeah, exactly. All right. So we're taking a vote now on legislative priority versus ending the appointment of Democrat committee chairs. Everyone who is in favor of that replacement, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, so that replacement happens. Now the overall language is, we call upon Republican members of the Texas legislature to sign a public declaration in support of this legislative priority. Is there any further debate on that amendment? See none. All in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Nay. Okay, so that fails. Is there any further discussion? Loretta?
I would like to propose an amendment to remove the Republican-controlled Texas legislature shall. Just start the sentence with end.
Okay, that motion has been made. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, that's been seconded. Jeff?
Sorry, if we're on discussion for this, the only reason why I like cutting language as much as anybody else, but if by some horrible means the Democrats take the chamber this term, and then we have to censure all remaining members of the legislature because they didn't successfully not get a Democrat speaker to not appoint Democrat chairs, this would be a problem. So like making that one caveat is actually useful.
Okay. I was a little bit distracted, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. So we are going to stand at recess until we get, don't leave the room unless you like really need to go on a bathroom break or something, but I think we probably can't continue until we're able to get someone from the Sergeant at Arms team to correct this situation. So stand up and stretch. Where we left off, we had the Republican-controlled Texas legislature shall. We are debating that language.
Mr. Chairman, we're missing most of our members. Or not, maybe not most, but a bunch of our members.
They're coming.
I think everybody's kind of getting back to their seats. Like, we're missing maybe one or two, but
We've got some of our members involved trying to de-escalate her.
they shouldn't be doing that. They should be in here. The sergeant at arms has it handled. Yeah. The sergeant at arms will take care of it. He's yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean the convention sergeant at arms. Oh yeah. We are. So they're going to handle it. Yeah. For sure. Right.
Her first name is Aubrey. She goes by several last names, so just kind of pick one.
Are we having fun yet?
All right. Loretta.
I'm going to withdraw my.
Okay, does anyone object to withdrawing that motion? Hearing none, we are back to the original language. Is there any further discussion on the no Democrat chair's priority? All right, question has been called. Not that that was necessary because there's no further discussion. So we will move into a vote. All in favor of adopting this language, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. That passes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion on the next item.
Okay.
I would like to move that for the abolish abortion priority, that we take the language that was submitted that combines abolishing abortion and going after the producers of those pills, and that we put that language in as this priority.
Okay, where is that?
Michael's pulling it up.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. All right, that has been seconded by Rolando. Okay. Let's read through this. So, because over 20,000 preborn Texas babies per year continue to be aborted on Texas soil using abortion pills, plus many more aborted outside the state, abolish abortion by immediately securing the right to life and equal protection of the laws to all preborn children from the moment of fertilization, including adopting effective tools to stop abortion pill websites and reach out-of-state violators of Texas law. Okay, make your amendment.
Microphone.
Microphone.
Adding two together.
No, I understand that. I thought I had to this version. You have to take this version. Point of information while they discuss it.
Yes.
Chair, point of information while
Yes.
they discuss. Did we not add the adoptive to this?
We did, and so that'll still need to be put in there.
Okay, I don't see it here, so thank you.
Yeah, I don't think we had language that included it yet. I just think it was added in there, so it'll need to be added before we finalize.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we have jurisdictional problems over out-of-state matters. I
Well-
would suggest that language be stricken.
Okay, Rolando, I think, is trying to make an amendment. Okay, yeah, they're talking to each other. So are you making an amendment to remove, what are you making an amendment to remove? And reach, so that part, and also plus many more aborted
Right.
outside the state?
Reaching out-of-state violators, that's a problem. Let's see, aborted outside the state is a problem.
Okay.
We ought to stick to Texas.
All right, that motion has been made. Is there a second? All right, that's been seconded. Is there any further debate on this motion? No. They're removing this language.
We can't control out of state.
Okay,
Point of
Hans.
information.
Yes.
We did have a big vote about removing the equal protection part. So
No.
No, we did not.
That
What
was
the
yesterday.
debate was about was it was about another clause that rejected that would have the priority pose pro-life laws that did not completely abolish abortion. So that was removed. Yeah. Okay, so right now we are discussing removing the language in red. Is there any further discussion on that? Johan?
So there are actions that we can take in Texas to try to keep people in Texas from traveling out of state to get an abortion and coming right back in. You can sue out-of-state entities for actions that they take in the state, and if somebody is planning to travel out of state and commit a murder, then part of that planning process is happening in the state of Texas. They are conspiring to murder while they are in Texas, where it is considered murder. We have to do something to combat the influx of all of these abortion pills that are coming from out of state. And so we can't do everything, but Texas, within its jurisdiction, should act to try to prevent our law from just being circumnavigated by people going out of state.
Rolando.
I speak against removing the language, especially and reach out-of-state violators of Texas law. Just so everyone understands, and I don't know if John and Bradley are still here, this language was carefully hammered out with both sides, Texas right to life and abolish abortion. And this covers specific actions and policy initiatives that the state can take. Every single word was carefully chosen in this language by two lawyers, or actually one lawyer, I don't know if John's a lawyer, but this was carefully chosen, okay? So, and y'all remember the heated debate discussion we had yesterday? This is something that I think everyone can live with, that both Texas right to life and abolish abortion are good with. So please, let's not blow this up. Let's not, the language, every word was carefully chosen. This is a strong priority. It includes abolish abortion and equal protection, even though I'm not crazy about that, while also outlining specific steps we can do to save lives. This is something I think the delegates will support. So let's please keep the language as it is.
All right, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of removing this, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, that fails. So we're back to the original language. Okay. I did have a couple of grammatical hang-ups. Plus many more aborted outside the state. I think, can we change that to, instead of plus, say, and many more abortions occur outside the state?
Scott, can I make a comment?
Yes.
I think all of this wording was really carefully nuanced by a couple of lawyers. All of this wording was carefully nuanced, as Rolando said, by a couple of lawyers, and I really am, I mean, that's their world. I don't even...
Well, they may be attorneys, but plus many more aborted outside the state is just not grammatically correct.
Exactly.
It just isn't. So,
May I pick up one thing? I've just heard a couple of things uttered in this phrase. I enjoy this process because seeing some parallels, because I've heard some language muttered about, hey, this is compromised language that was brought to us by experts.
Yeah.
When that gets uttered on the House floor, grassroots people go nuts, and for rightful reasons, of like, you're the legislators. A bunch of lobbyists came to you and presented agreed to language that no elected official wrote, and now you're just going to pass it because you're deferring your responsibility. So I'm not saying we shouldn't take this language for that reason. I just want to note this because this is our responsibility. This is our duty. We are the ones who were selected by our SDs to put this language together. I respect the work that the folks do. I want to take that into great consideration, but not touching it because it was brought to us by people who are experts, is something that is rightfully decried in the legislature and should be equally treated here.
Okay, if I can just speak to that.
All right.
I have my hand up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Genera, then Rolando.
Thank you. I really appreciate that somebody that somebody in authority wrote this, but it's too verbose. And if we just trim some words that does not alter the meaning, then people will read it in its entirety. So I make the motion to remove the words from plus, the word plus, to the word immediately, and then you change the word securing to secure.
I heard that. Abolish or not ask me.
All right, so is there a second? All right, that's been seconded. Can you speak to the motion?
Yes, I'll speak to this quickly. My assumption is the title will be abolish abortion, so we don't need to say it again. It will include that.
Can I? Okay. Or
Go
am I
ahead.
recognized?
You're recognized, Rolando.
Okay. This is not too verbose. We have priorities that are longer than this. So I don't know why we're now struggling to shave a word here and there. I understand wanting to make it less verbose, but I'm sorry. Abolish abortion is not just extra language, okay? And yes, I understand it's in the title, but it has to be in the text of the priority. I'm sorry, you're not going to get rid of abolish abortion.
All right, Dr. Malati.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, after we do this, I have something after that.
Okay. Okay. Rick?
As to being vetted by these groups, they are advocacy groups drafted from an advocacy position. And I will simply observe, if you ask 100 lawyers for an opinion, you're likely to get at least 120.
All right, that is well taken. Spencer?
So I would just want to point out that if we're looking to trim in any way, the very first part of it seems like a whereas clause. The action item could start at abolish abortion by immediately securing. That's where we could trim. I don't think that we need to take the words abolish abortion out of this in any way.
The preface is important, and this was, and again, we talked about this because we want to make sure, and I understand people are reluctant to include prefatory statements. It is important to make sure delegates are aware that abortions are still happening.
Right.
I mean, again, we have passed several priorities that are longer than this, and that people are freaking out over a few words.
Johan? Okay, a question has been called. Is there any objection to moving to a vote? No objection heard. All in favor of removing this language, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, that fails. So we're back to the original language. Okay.
May I make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. I think listening to everything that's been said, the question of there's an action item that needs to be highlighted. There is prefatory and or explanatory language that needs to be included. I make the motion that we take the language from because up until abolish. Cut as in cut paste, right? That language. Move to a new sentence at the end. This must be accomplished in order to as an explanatory sentence following, so that we can start with the action item and then add the explanatory phrase on what's necessary, why it's necessary as a separate sentence afterwards. It makes it less verbose because it's two sentences, and it makes it very clear what is being asked.
Okay, so is there a second? All right. Is there any further discussion? Rhonda?
I have a question. Have we adopted the language at the bottom over the language at the top? Has that?
We're amending the amendment.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just an amendment. Okay, so I see the intent, but that's not a complete sentence, so it should be.
We need to reshape that sentence, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's like when I would get marked down in elementary school for starting a sentence with because.
As I said, in the motion, though, I did say, like, the second sentence should start with something relating to, this must be accomplished in order to save 20,000, because.
What if you just had a comma after law, lowercase because?
Great, that's fine too.
And then yeah. So would it be well taken to change the word plus to and then say many more are aborted outside the state?
Absolutely.
All right. Is there any objection to that? Hearing none.
Scott?
Is someone objecting?
If we're still anticipating adding something on adoption, moving that sentence to the end is not going to work. Comment?
Okay, well, no, hang on. I was just saying, is there any objection to making those little changes to the highlighted area? We still haven't voted on the highlighted area yet. Okay, so is there any objection to making those tiny changes to make it a functioning sentence? All right, hearing none. Now we've got the yellow text. Johan.
We really want the problem statement to be the first thing that the delegates read so that they understand why we need the priority. If they just read abolish abortion and they think, well, I thought we did that, and they kind of skim through it, then that doesn't present the problem. And so we want this to be a priority, and we want them to understand it from the very beginning why it's important.
All right. Is there any further debate on this? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of this change, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right. Put it back where it was. Okay, but can we change plus to and add more are aborted? Well, we made that change to the amendment. Can we make it again? Is there any objection? I'm tired of seeing that. Many more are aborted outside the state. Many more. Leave the many. Many more are aborted outside the state. There. All right. Dr. Malati.
Just a question. You guys might have covered it earlier, but are we going to be inserting any language about the life of the mother?
Do you have any amendments you would like to make?
Maybe after abolish abortion, except for medical emergency, or.
Oh, that's a loophole you could.
That's already in the law.
Yeah.
That's already in the law.
Okay, Paul.
Yes, my point of order earlier about the adoptive part.
Yes,
is in here. I think we should do that.
Yeah.
What was agreed to earlier, and then we can continue with what we're doing.
Okay, so can we pull that item from the? I know we have it on here somewhere. Can you just kind of paste that priority right below, and then
Can we go ahead and vote to accept the bottom language so that we can remove the top language? And then we can work on just the bottom language.
No. The bottom language is that's the main motion. So yeah, it's not an amendment. It is what is being discussed.
But we never rejected the top.
Well, the top never came about. Yeah, the motion originally made was. But the motion that was made was for the new language. That it's a different main motion than what originally existed.
Right, and we never voted to accept it.
Well, it was seconded, so it's never been accepted or rejected. A different main motion was made.
Paul, is that the language that you were referring to? That's the only one I can find.
I believe so. We never got into the wording at all. We
Yeah.
just wanted to add the adoption part
Yeah.
to this. So we haven't even worked on that wording yet. So at least it's here now. We can work on it
Yep.
after we finish what we were doing before. Thank you. By the way, I would add to the title, abolish abortion and improve adoption, but we can do that later.
All right, so can you show all of it on the screen? Yeah, I think you'll need to. Okay, what if we just did this? What if we just said after law, said comma, and making the adoption process more affordable, streamlined, and accessible? Well, technically it's not, but yeah, it would all be one sentence, but that's fine. It's grammatically correct because abolish abortion by immediately securing the right to life and equal protection of the laws to all preborn children from the moment of fertilization, including adopting effective tools to stop abortion pill websites and reach out-of-state violators of Texas law, and making the adoption process more affordable, streamlined, and accessible.
Essentially, you're saying abolish abortion and making the adoption. Can you use the microphone?
No, it's abolish abortion by securing and making the adoption process more affordable, streamlined, and accessible. Rolando. Well, okay, I mean, I haven't made it as a motion yet. Paul, would including that satisfy?
It would. It gets us into where we need to be at
Okay.
this point, and we can.
All right, I'll make a motion, or I'll entertain a motion to add this language to the sentence with the understanding that we can work on it a little bit from there. Yes. Okay, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd offer an amendment to the amendment.
We're not there
To
yet.
make that.
We're not there yet.
Make it a standalone sentence.
We're not there yet, okay? I'm entertaining a motion to make this amendment. Okay, that's been moved. Is there a second? That's been seconded. Okay, so the amendment is to add the yellow text. Now you can make an amendment to change it to its own sentence.
So move.
Okay, so that would be after law, you would say period, make the adoption process more affordable, streamlined, and accessible. Okay, is there a second on that? All right, that's been seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of it say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, that passes.
All right, now can I speak on the previous amendment?
Yes.
Okay. If we do have to have adoption language, I obviously this makes a lot more sense than that whole other paragraph. However, I don't think, I understand from a political messaging point why we want to include adoption in this priority, but it doesn't really fit. It feels really forced. And, you know, like I said, I'm not, if you all insist on putting it there, I don't think it's going to, you know, I don't think substantively change the priority. I just think it seems really forced, and it doesn't really make sense including it here.
Thank you. I'll go over here. Yeah, so I will agree with Rolando. And again, I say this as a person who advocates very, very heavily for adoption and reforming the adoption process. But it conflates the issue. It conflates that's the priority. And if our priority is the abolish abortion, then that needs to be the top priority. When we start adding in other things that just truthfully are not, it is a separate issue that needs to be tackled separately and needs to be addressed separately.
I'll go in the back over here, and then
I'll go over there.
So we already agreed yesterday that we were going to consolidate these two issues. So saying that we don't want to include it now, after everyone voted to do it yesterday, is kind of hypocritical. These are both pro-life issues.
Okay, I'll go over here.
And I agree.
Actually,
Make
point of
adoption
order.
process more affordable is key because we're trying to reduce abortions, and we can do that by increasing adoptions. So it does go together, and we did vote for it yesterday. I think it should stay.
Oh, sorry, Scott's out of the room. Yeah.
Scott.
It's just a point of order on something.
You called this, I don't know, the marketing thing or whatever, but I don't see it that way at all. We're either abolishing abortion, which we are, and that's necessary, or we are protecting life. And both are the same thing.
Okay,
I don't think that
sorry,
there's.
Jeff, you had a point of order.
This is a point of order. Is it correct that we voted yesterday about about taking up the adoption language in this?
Yes.
Okay, I believe there was also a motion made by our secretary at the beginning of the day to consider all motions to reconsider or change anything that was done previously as far as the substance of the matters to be considered brought up and laid on the table. So that would actually be out of order to not adopt, to not take this up. Is that correct?
I think so at this point. I know there are some consolidation items that, I think what sets this one aside is we had some items that were in the consolidation area that are kind of not fully formed yet. This one, I think, was considered it was confirmed. It was fully formed with the adoption process added to it. So even though that language wasn't built in yet, I think there was kind of a common understanding by the members of the committee that that was its ticket onto the confirmed page. So we do need to find some way to incorporate it, or we would have to go back and reconsider that motion. Does that make sense? Right, which we can't do, or we would have to remove it from the table.
Sorry, just a quick point on that. Technically, we can, but it takes two-thirds of this committee in order to entertain a motion to go back to this.
So, Dan.
Can I make a motion at the end of accessible? It says in lieu of abortion. That way, the adoption process, we want to make it more affordable and streamlined. It's a path out instead of abortion, and in there that way, which is really what we're doing.
What if we said, I know this is longer, but what if you said as an alternative to abortion?
That'd be fine too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the typical language we use from the Republican Party on that.
More people will buy that quicker than anything in the world. That, okay, you're trying to get them to stop. You got to give them an alternative why they really need to stop. That they're not just being punished. That there's an alternative for them, and we're going to help them.
Do you want to make this motion?
I make the motion that we have.
All right. Is there a second? Okay, that's been seconded. Is there? So this is an amendment to the amendment. The text in blue. Is there any discussion on the text in blue? You would. Comma, make the.
That works.
Is there any objection to arranging it that way?
No.
Seeing none.
In fact, I think it works better.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion on the item in blue? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment to the amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, we're back to the yellow text. Is there any further discussion on this text? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was making a point, but anyway, for me, this is about protecting life, less so about abolishing abortion. Both are the same thing, but it's about protecting life. So.
Yeah. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of the yellow text, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. That passes. Is there any further discussion on the overall priority? Rick?
Although I've been told we'll take up changing titles later, would it be appropriate to go ahead and change it now for clarity that this
No,
and
because-
promoting adoption?
Because we're going to change it later. Do you really, if you really want to do it now, we can. Okay. Yeah. Huh?
Can I call the question?
I mean, he made his motion first.
I'd say point of order, we have a standing rule saying that we have to dispose of all the language first before going titles.
You're right, that is right. So you would be out of order. Question has been called. Is there any further, or is there any objection to moving to a vote? Hearing none, all in favor of the language in this priority, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, we are done with that priority.
Mr. Chairman, did I understand that you said it would be appropriate to amend the title at this point?
No, after we're done with
That's
all,
fine.
yeah,
I just
after we're
was-
done with all the priorities.
Sought clarification.
So I will point out for the committee's benefit, we have 2.5 hours left. And so we've got to get through 4 combination priorities, which is going to be a little bit difficult. And we also have to do titles and we have to do ranking. So. Okay, let me put the question to the body. Do we want to use the old survey rankings as the rankings for the priorities, or do we want to do a new survey? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to put together a new survey with just the 15.
Can the survey be weighted? That's what we did 2 years ago.
Weighted by?
In other words, we rank them 1 through 15.
Oh, and then you get like 1 point for 1, 2 points for 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
you add up the numbers, and the ones with the lowest score are the highest ranking? Or
Right.
A point of information?
Yes.
Did someone just propose that we use ranked choice voting?
Technically, no.
Moving right along.
But yeah, so I think what you'll do as you do the survey, and we'll just do this as we do our other discussions, is you'll rank 1 through 15 on each of the items. So, and then whichever one's average 1, average 2, etc. All right. So our next item is border enforcement and internal immigration controls. Do we have any? Has anyone worked on any draft combinations? Have we even started that yet?
I think you're going to have to do bullet points.
I think bullet points are unavoidable for elections, but I think for all these others, we should try everything we possibly can to avoid it. Okay.
Should we start with protect the border by?
Yeah.
Well,
And then we could just add.
see, we were going to run into this problem. I was worried. But because you've got to add a bunch of stuff to it.
How to prevent illegal immigration or deter illegal immigration. You can start with that.
So like for instance, we could say Texas should create a border protection unit to seal the border. So we can cut that and deploy additional state and law enforcement military forces because the intention of the border protection unit is to seal the border. So
Okay.
So that's one thing.
All right, so yeah, let's start with that. Is there any objection to doing that?
No.
Okay, the motion would be, okay, first of all, can we as a main motion move to adopt this, this initial language? Just so we have something to start with. Right.
I move to adopt this language to start working on.
Okay. All right, yeah, we have to have a foundation, right? So the motion has been made to delete the line and deploy additional state law enforcement and military forces. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Rhonda Marquardt.
I don't think you can delete that right there because you're talking about two separate entities. Like it's DPS and whatever we call it, the Border Protection Unit of Texas, or it's the National Guard of Texas, or whatever military forces, whatever they end up calling it. And they are two separate entities. And I've also heard about the Texas Rangers being a part of that. So I don't know what they're going to come up with there.
Scott?
Yeah.
Scott?
Okay, Brett?
I think you need an introductory statement. It can be very short, that wraps all of the ideas together. And so I would propose to protect Texas, comma, because that's not just the border, that's also the interior of Texas. And so if we're going to pull all of these together, we need to start with that.
Okay. I think it's more complicated than just to protect Texas, but I agree with what you're trying to do. Peyton?
Scott, I think one thing that's important to recognize is because we have international ports of entry across it, we cannot seal the border. The Texas Border Protection Unit can work to prevent illegal entry and trafficking, but we cannot technically seal the border because the international ports of entry are controlled by the United States government and not Texas.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this red language? Seeing none, all in favor of removing this language say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. All right, well, it's removed. 3 people voted, but it did get removed. Rick?
I'd like to offer an amendment before the word Texas to repel invasion. Texas should.
Okay, so to repel invasion.
That's all.
All right, that's been seconded. Dr. Maletti?
No,
Okay.
I have a different one. I'll wait.
All right. Jeff?
This one or this?
You.
Okay. Honestly, I wouldn't, when coming to, we're on this motion of just to repel, of adding to repel invasion. But I will say this, we're talking about, is it inevitable? With the time we have left and with what you were talking about, I think you're right about it being inevitable to do bullet points on elections. Trying to write this all into language that just has the right phrasing and everything is, I think, an impossible task in the amount of time we have with everything else that has to be done. I think going to straight, clear action item bullet points on this, we all know the border issue and why it's important. That's not something we have to convince the delegates of or explain to them. Going straight to create a border protection unit. Done. Next.
Okay. So how about we do this? Let's go ahead and
Chairman,
dispense.
The point is to invoke our constitutional authority by allowing our Border Protection Unit to act.
I've got it. Okay, let's go ahead. I'll entertain an amendment to this amendment that says to repel invasion and deter illegal immigration. Colon.
I'll accept that.
All right, and then we'll start our bullet point list. Okay, that's been seconded. Or is there any objection? Seeing none, all in favor of the yellow text, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, bullet point 1: Texas should create a border protection unit to seal the border. Any objection to that?
I would have a motion. One, it was discussed with the folks from the National Guard that the Border Protection Unit, this is as it was created in HB 20, the stuff that Chairman Guillen's working on right now with the building the Texas Department of Homeland Security to be stood up as its own agency, separate from under DPS, is actually important because of a lot of complicated factors. So also, Texas should create a Texas Department of Homeland Security to police the border. Like, we can't seal the border. That's true, right? So let's be clear
Okay.
about facts to police the border. Period.
So first of all, can we take out Texas should? That will take out a little bit of wording. Any objection? All right, it's gone. Any objection to renaming Border Protection Unit to Department? Yeah, Texas Department of Homeland Security. Any objection there?
I think most people know it is the Border Protection Unit.
I don't think many people know about it at all, honestly.
Well, most people following the issue, I mean, when I say Border Protection Unit, I'm talking to people know what that means.
And then I think the whole thing goes in the bullet, like the repel invade, like illegal entry and trafficking, illegal aliens to Mexico, or to their nations of origin. I think all of that goes under that bullet point. Yes. Any objection there? You'll be able to see it in a sec.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
While we're waiting, can we just take a second to appreciate Michael, and I don't know the other guy's name that's over there fixing the projector right now, but y'all been working miracles, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott, may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
If you're going to put in the words, telling them to use physical force, I suggest you add right where necessary. I don't think you want to be on record demanding that someone use physical force. You need to make a condition, I think.
Well, I mean, I think there, hang on, let me. I mean, I would think that would be implied. Like, they're using physical force. I mean, obviously, they don't use it 100% of the time, but when they need to, they can.
Well, what happens in all this, it's going to be something like when, if you get in someone uses a weapon in self-defense, first thing the other counselors start want to see the stickers on the back of your car, and they apply things like you're just looking for something, looking for a way to hurt person. You went out to do this. And so these kind of statements, for an illegal person who's going to be suing the state of Texas, and it's going to happen, they're going to be looking at this and saying, well, they were told to go down and take, rough these guys up. So it won't help.
Dr. Malati.
Maybe if the suggestion would be to maybe take out to seal the border and to use physical force and just say this Border Protection Unit to prevent illegal entry and trafficking and deport illegal aliens to Mexico. Like that rest of it, that's exactly what we want them to do.
Okay, we can't see it on screen, but is there any objection to doing that?
Say it again.
Okay, so we would take out the words.
Mike?
Well, I'm trying to look at the screen and.
Is it removing the words use physical force to?
Well, people were saying that to seal the border was also something that is it federal, but we want them to prevent illegal entry and trafficking and to deport illegal aliens to Mexico. That's what we want them to do, so we can just put that as the action for the military forces, or for the protection unit. Create a border protection unit
to
prevent illegal entry and trafficking and to deport illegal aliens to Mexico or to their nations of origin.
All right. Any objection to removing?
Sorry, removing and replacing with the language that she's suggesting?
No, there's no replacement. It just picks up with with that already there.
Only objection is the word deport. Very technical thing here. You can return them to Mexico. You can't deport them because deportation requires that the nation that you're returning them to accept them. That is the part that makes it deportation, is that they have to be taken back by the country they are taken into, but return is to bring them back. That's just a technicality.
I think we need to hold the line on the word deport. I think that's really important. Just my opinion, but.
Are you eliminating secure the border, or?
The seal the border was already taken out. Yeah, that's already out of it.
Because in our discussion, we talked about that the border checkpoints, the bridges, we have no control over. The ports of entry, we have no control over as
It's not
state.
in there.
But the other part of our border is where all of the illegal stuff is coming in. So Texas can secure that land, in my opinion.
Yeah, the priority would read prevent illegal entry and trafficking. Hang on, is it possible for us to read it? Okay, yeah, if you're looking at page 36 of the live doc, you can see what is being removed and what we would end up with. Okay? All right, we need to come to order, guys. We don't have a lot of time left. Is there any objection to removing the words use physical force to? Hearing none, they will be removed. All right, yeah, let's take them out. Okay, second bullet point. Don't even bother with the Texas legislature should require the use of E-Verify by all employers in Texas to, and then do we even want to, well, do we want to say period or do we want to include all the rest of it? Okay. All right. Any objection to adding that up there? All right, I saw a hand go up back there. Was that you, Peyton?
Scott, I was just going to suggest there was something logically, we have another small bullet point that more logically goes in front of it, but I think we can worry about that somewhat later on. So I apologize.
Okay. Then the next item, prohibit encouragement and/or assisting illegal entry with mandatory fines and jail time, which should include the ability to charge corporate, nonprofit, and/or social media entities that facilitate or encourage the same. Any objection to making that the second bullet point before mandatory E-Verify? All right, let's go ahead and move it up there. And then we'll look at the wording here. I really hate and/or. Can we just say or? And instead of encourage, can we take out encouraging or, actually? Is encouraging very important here? Okay.
The NGOs encourage.
I have an objection to that.
Okay.
Because think of the TikTok video with the guy that was saying he could come and he could squat in all of our houses and take over. He's in a lot of trouble for encouraging them to come and do that. And so there's a whole social media deal of encouraging them to come here. So I think you have to leave that word. But the assisting is totally different.
Chris, could we go with enticing or something that you're actually pulling them in, encourages like you're going to be okay, right, as opposed to actually enticing of saying there's something here for you, come do this.
Is there a legal word that my it's getting late brain just can't remember that is where we're encouraging someone to commit a crime?
Enabling?
Not enabling. It's not aiding and abetting. It's not enticing. But when, huh?
Being an accessory?
No. It's.
I really feel encouraging is, it's the best word.
Let's use
No.
a thesaurus on your word.
Yeah,
word app.
No, there's an actual word for this. I swear. It's a type of speech that is not. Inciting, that's it. Yeah. Assisting or inciting illegal entry. All right. How do we feel about this? Any objections? All right. That'll be, okay. Any objections to making that combined change? Yeah. We'll do it when we get there. Chrissy.
Are you sure the word's not enticing?
No, it's inciting. Like when you incite a mob or something like that.
Okay.
Jeff, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, not on this point, but I would like to
I would like to maybe think about something on E-Verify because the one.
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. On this point, okay, with mandatory fines and jail time, do we need to include all that?
Yes.
I'm wondering if we can move that to the end. So like instead of saying prohibit assisting or inciting illegal entry, we could say prohibit assisting or inciting illegal entry, and then have something, some language that includes the ability to charge nonprofit or social media entities that facilitate or encourage the same with.
Well, I think what we're going to do is, what we should probably do is go prohibit corporate, nonprofit, and social media entities from assisting or inciting illegal entry with mandatory fines and jail time. How does that sound to everybody?
Yes. That works. So,
all right. And actually, you can take out. Yeah, so you would take that out, period, and you would take out the comma after illegal entry. All right. Henry.
Instead of using just nonprofit, why not use the NGOs, the non-government organizations? Because that's some of that. A lot of it is a nonprofit, but there could be others that that could fall into that.
I believe all of the NGOs involved are nonprofits.
Yeah, NGOs are nonprofits. Okay, but we should probably say corporations, nonprofits, and social media entities. And yeah, take out the or.
Scott, there's one, if I might, that last paragraph you down there is, I think, is a good one with a minor change. It could be the last bullet point.
Yeah, well, let's get to Jeff's E-Verify point, and then we'll go to Julie, and then we'll get there.
Yeah, I almost think on the E-Verify, we need to include some language very much like we do up above. We need that mandatory fines and jail time for violations or for employing illegal aliens. Because if we don't put some penalty phase in there that's serious, people will just pay, they'll just ignore it.
With penalties, mandatory fines and jail time, what do we want to put there for for employers who violate? I agree with you. What do we want to put there, though? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be mandatory fines and jail time
for
hiring non-verified employees or something of that.
For employers.
Point of information.
Yes.
Could someone who's more familiar with the processing of E-Verify explain how this would apply to day labor?
How this would what?
Apply to day laborers?
Sure.
In other words, can you actually process it in a timely manner?
Yes, you can process it almost instantly in most cases.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My only concern is all employers. It shouldn't be all employers with more than so many people, because if I hire a caretaker for my father, I'm going to have to use E-Verify, and the regular citizens aren't going to know how to use it, and you're going to have mandatory fines and jail time.
I don't think we have to go into that level of detail. I think if the legislature passed a law that said everyone who employs more than 10 people has to follow, to use E-Verify or be penalized, then that would take care of it. Dr. Mladi.
I know this might soften it, but should we just say with significant penalties for violators?
With Is there any objection to making this change? So it would be adopting the language in blue, deleting the language in purple?
I would prefer the previous language.
All right.
Maybe speak to that.
Go ahead, and then I'll go to Christy.
Can I make a motion, or?
Go ahead.
Can we not refer to the specific law that prohibits you from hiring illegal aliens here, and say enforce that law? Use E-Verify to enforce that law?
No, I think we need a specific penalty for not using E-Verify. I would think that would be important. I don't know. We've got Julie, and then Jeff, and then Rolando.
On the assisting and inciting, shouldn't individuals also be included in that list, not only corporations and businesses?
We could go back to that, but right now we're discussing the significant penalties for violators. Jeff.
When we're discussing the difference between these two, putting in the mandatory fines and jail time for violators, I will just say my only entry to this will be that the original bill introducing mandatory minimums was originally authored by then Senator Biden. That was his policy, his main thrust, and it has not worked out well. So significant penalties for violators, I think, is and not pushing a mandatory minimum or a key fine or sentence is that judges need a little bit of discretion.
All right, Rolando.
I agree with significant penalties for violators. I always hesitate to I understand we need to have clear penalties for those who are not using E-Verify. But I don't want to get into fines and jail time, especially because reading it's not clear, or people may not realize that the penalty is for not using E-Verify. The penalty is not for using E-Verify and through a mistake in the system, you end up hiring illegal aliens. I mean, in other words, for those who use E-Verify, they are not held liable if they somehow end up hiring an illegal alien that they ran through E-Verify. So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how to. We don't need to say that in the here, but we have to understand that may not be clear to people reading it. So we don't want to get too specific about fines and jail time.
All right.
And some more
Rhonda.
information, could I make a point on that? E-Verify, one of the reasons for E-Verify is so we know who's here, because we really don't know who's here. And so we want them to use it. We don't want to dissuade them from using it, and it hasn't gone through yet, correct?
Yeah. Okay, so right now we're just trying to decide significant penalties for violators, mandatory fines and jail time for violators. That's what we're trying to decide. Is there any further debate on this amendment? Chrissy.
I'd like to add that a lot of times this work is not done by the owner of the business. It's done by an employee who's processing payroll. And so is the significant penalty for the employee or the owner of the business?
Yeah, I would think the penalty should be for the business.
Yes, that's how it works now. Of course, I mean, those penalties are hardly ever applied now, because I mean, it's almost if you're using the I-9 form, it's almost impossible to prove it. But yeah, in those rare cases where where they just blatantly hire illegal aliens, it is the employer, not the HR clerk, who's held responsible.
Okay, so what if we said, we'll decide on significant penalties versus mandatory fines and jail time first. But then after we do that, whichever one we go with, we should probably add in for business owners, for owners of businesses that violate this mandate. Yeah. Well, I would specify owners of businesses who violate this mandate. Rick.
I think the word mandatory is going to cause us trouble. It usually does. I'd suggest getting rid of it and just saying fines and confinement.
Okay. Can someone call the
We
question?
call the vote. Call the question.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a vote now. Blue language is yes, purple language is no. Okay? All in favor of this amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, so we're going with significant penalties. And then, is there any objection to adding significant penalties for business owners who violate this requirement? Well, you don't need to second it. If there's no objection, then it's just adopted. And there's no objection. Great. All right, we're back to the amendment. All in favor of this, the yellow text, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, that's our E-Verify requirement. Okay, go ahead. Make a motion.
I think most people know what E-Verify is, but just to be clear, we need to add that. So require the use of E-Verify, and then insert by all employers in Texas to prevent the hiring of illegal aliens.
And then there would be a comma with significant penalties.
Right. Commas or dashes. I'm a fan of dashes.
I speak against this. I think most people do know what E-Verify is. Let's keep it simple.
Employers know.
Yeah. And do we think most delegates, I think most delegates do know by this point. I don't know.
I will say, like, we always, on the ballot prop, I think we've had it on ballot props twice, we always say to prevent the hiring of illegal aliens.
That's the very purpose of E-Verify, I call it.
Okay. Is there any further debate on this, on the yellow text? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of adding this, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right. I think we're done with this item for now. We still have to add in subsidies and public services. So I think that'll, oh wait, no, there are two items actually. Peyton.
Mr. Chairman. If you're to the Texas, I would suggest we use the very last paragraph that says the Texas legislature should end all subsidies, but with the following change, that after the comma, after services, comma, and I would include excluding emergency medical services, comma, but including in-state college and tuition. So in other words, the college, that stays in, but the emergency medical, because hospitals cannot deny emergency medical services, and to imply that they are, isn't going to work. So I think you need to make that clear.
Okay, let's, yeah, so we would start with the word end all subsidies in public, okay. End all subsidies in public services, and you want to say?
Excluding emergency medical care, comma, but including in-state college tuition enrollment. So in other words,
Could I just make it, I would think that instead of using the word but, we could put excluding emergency medical at the end.
Okay. Either way,
to
the main thing is you got to
exclude.
get in somewhere.
Yeah, we got the idea. So is there any objection to moving that one up?
Should it be emergency medical care?
How are we coming on the projector?
Are we going to reorder these at the end?
All of these bullet points?
Yes.
I think the idea would not be to. I think we want to kind of create a flow from the first couple having to do with the border all the way through to employment and then living in and getting taxpayer money in the U.S. So I think it's pretty purposefully structured so far. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Who is that? Yeah, yes.
Eric, SD20. I'd like to go up a couple of bullet points when it's talking about
I think we need
prohibiting corporations and nonprofits?
we need to deal with this bullet point first, and then we can go back to that.
We're done with that.
Okay. End all subsidies and public services, including in-state including in-state college tuition and enrollment in public schools for illegal aliens, excluding, should we say except for emergency medical care?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's federal law for those who may not be familiar with it.
Okay. Is there any other, Julie, are you raising your hand to debate? Okay. Is there any other debate on that addition? Brett?
Do we want to say anything about Plyler v. Doe?
I don't think, I think it's implied that this would challenge that.
Terrific.
Okay. Is there any other debate? Susan?
Can we add extreme emergency medical care?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
If someone shows up at the ER, no matter what, federal law requires
Okay,
they
we're
be
not
treated.
debating yet. We need to see if there's a second. Is there a second? All right, that's been seconded. Okay. The amendment is to add the word extreme to emergency medical care. All right, Loretta?
If they show up at the emergency room, they have to be treated.
All right, is there any other debate? Seeing none, all in favor of adding this, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. There we go. All right. Okay, I know Eric was going to make a motion having to do with prohibit corporations.
Right. In that paragraph, add governments to account for sanctuary places like El Paso that encourage illegal immigration.
Okay, so do you want to say corporations, nonprofits, governments, and social media entities?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any objection? Hearing none, let's go ahead and add that in. I'll
Prohibit corporations.
I'll just put it in.
Government's better because it's broader. Yeah, that's good.
I did something wrong. Hang on. This is why I let you do this. Oh, what did I do? Yeah. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. And then final bullet point has to do with taxpayer.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
you asked if there were any more points, and I don't think you saw my hand on the last one on in subsidies for public schools. Okay, this is unpleasant, but we have to have at least this part of the conversation so it's clear that it's been discussed. We've had a lot of discussion about we have a new Supreme Court. We're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to we're fine with clashing up against some things and seeing what happens, right? My question here is enrollment in public schools comes down to two main principles that previous Supreme Court decisions have found. One is our Constitution in the 14th Amendment says people, not citizens. And so that comes down to, that is a specific thing, and it's not something that's probably going to be reinterpreted because the very, very point of that amendment, that was one of the amendments after the Civil War, and so it was very specifically saying these people were not citizens before, and you are not giving them rights, and so we are having this point is every person, it wasn't a typo, to be clear, is what I'm saying. And so that decision was saying if you're offering this thing, if you're offering this, it is an equal protection question, which is a thing that we've been really hard about, like equal protection is a thing we've been hammering. And so I will say that decision said this is a thing that says people, not citizens, so it is an equal protection issue that you have to provide some of these basic minimum services to people in your area, not citizens. And second, you can't imagine that that if we're excluding and or creating a separate system for illegal aliens in our court in our state, that this is not going to come up against Brown versus Board of Education. And I do not think we have a rousing cheer in this room for like, yeah, let's take down Brown versus Board of Education. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying I want either of those things to be true. I'm saying if we're talking about what is being challenged if we bring it up to a court case, I just want to recognize what those items and cases are that we would be challenging and what the context of that would be.
And just to be clear about one thing, I mean, Brown versus Board of Education was about discrimination by race, and illegal immigration has nothing to do with race. So
there are some very strong legal principles around de facto and de jure, right? So just because you're saying that illegal immigration has nothing to do with race, and it doesn't in a broad sense of like in the technical term of the words, if 95 to 99% of the people who are shunted over into a second system are all of one race, it's going to fall under Brown versus Board of Education, whether it's de jure or not.
Right.
It's de facto, and that's what they found.
Okay, Rick.
There's a lot of pending litigation on the expression "the people" as to who may be a part of the people. For example, there's a lot of Second Amendment litigation. Are nonviolent felons a part of the people? The circuit courts have a diverse opinion at the present time. And any number of other issues, such as our green card holders a part of the people. And so I'd say at best the matter's unsettled.
All right.
Hans. I move to strike this last bullet. Let's just vote on it.
Okay, so the motion is to strike, prohibit any taxpayer funds from being provided in any way to the end all subsidies bullet, or the next one that we haven't included yet?
The one that we have right now, end all subsidies and public services, including in-state college.
Okay, the motion has been made to strike that bullet point. Is there a second?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
State your point.
This was included on our consolidate list. This would be a motion to reconsider, not to strike.
Okay.
Strike everything, leave only end all subsidies for college tuition.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. So what is the motion? Hang on. Repeat
Instead
that.
of the whole thing, retain only end all subsidies for in-state college tuition.
So end all subsidies for in-state college tuition. All right, that motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, that was seconded. All in favor of making this change, say aye.
Aye.
Or I guess we have to do debate. Sorry.
Yeah, I just have a question, because are we saying we're not including the for illegal aliens portion in that? Because otherwise, like literally, with just this phrase, we can't give in-state tuition to people who graduated.
I think it's implied. It's implied based on the person who made the amendment's intent that it would include for illegal aliens. So yeah. Okay. So we would remove what's in red, keep what's in black. Yes. So, is there any other debate on this item?
So what is left?
Ending in-state college tuition.
Okay, that I am vehemently against this. We are taking out 99% of the expense, of the public expense of illegal aliens. Now, I understand there's a couple members of this committee who are fretting about this or that, but I think the overwhelming majority of this committee and the overwhelming majority of our delegates and our Republican primary voters want to be emphatic. In-state tuition, health care, education, everything else. We need to keep it as it is.
All right. Brady.
With Rolando's statement, further, any pontificating over what the Supreme Court might do with Brown versus Board of Education or anything else is not really the concern of this committee. We have a strong AG, and it is time with a completely different Supreme Court makeup that this be challenged, and so I would speak against this.
Spencer.
I would just like to add to what he just said. If we were worried about what the Supreme Court said, we would have never passed anything to do with abolish abortion, because we had Roe v. Wade right there, and we still did it every single time. I hope that we keep this as it is without the edit.
All right. Any further discussion on this motion? Chrissy?
Can I ask for clarification on what would be included in public services?
I mean, it says what it says. So. Yeah, okay. The question has been called. Is there any objection to moving to a vote? All in favor? Okay, no objection. All in favor of making this change where we would delete everything in red, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, that fails. We're back to the original language. Do we have any motions on the final prohibit taxpayer funds item? Someone make a motion to include it. Okay. All right, a motion has been made to add this, prohibit any taxpayer funds from being provided in any way to, okay. Would the body object to replace it, to moving to local governments to care for illegal aliens?
Point of information.
State your point.
Does this prohibit the expenditure by Bear County, for example, for emergency care to illegal aliens?
No, this is taxpayer funds being provided to local governments.
Point of information.
State your point.
How does this differ from the previous subsidies and public services? Is there something that's different here?
I think that's a good point. All right, do we want to move to a vote on this bullet point? Okay, is there any further discussion on this bullet point? Seeing none, all in favor of adding this, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, are there any further amendments to the overall text of this? Okay, Christy.
The text of this bullet point?
The entire priority.
This is not a motion, just something I think that we as a body should consider, is we have a lot of illegal aliens here who were brought here as children and who, I think they refer to them as DACA. Do we want the provisions of this to apply to them?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, Julie.
I wanted to make a motion to add individuals to the prohibit corporations, nonprofits from assisting and inciting.
Okay. Prohibit individuals, corporations, nonprofits, governments, and social media entities. Is there any objection to including that?
Nope.
All right. No objection, it's included. Any further discussion on this?
That bullet point just seems, it says prohibit with mandatory fines and jail time. Is that what we intend? Is that how we're prohibiting them?
Prohibit, do you want to say using? Is there a better word that could go there?
Include.
Yeah, I think with is fine. It's 9:09 p.m. With is fine. All right, any further discussion on this priority? Seeing none, we'll go to a final vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, that passes. We have 3 left. The next is Let Texas Run Texas.
I have a motion.
Yes.
I would like to include the language from the other priority dealing with climate change. See if I can find that.
The Let Texas Run Texas one is, I believe so, yes.
Yes, this deals with federal overreach and the kill switches, and it's imperative that action be taken at the present time because it will be in effect in '26, and once that bridge is crossed, there's very little chance of undoing it.
Okay, we were just handed possible substitute language for Let Texas Run Texas that is calling for a Texas independence referendum, which would be out of order because we already voted against that. So.
I'd like to make a move to suspend the rules.
Okay, a motion is made to suspend the rules to allow for what? Okay, you would need a 2/3 vote to reconsider. Is there any discussion? Yes. All right, go ahead.
I believe that's
This
out of order.
totally change it. That would totally change the meaning of this priority. I mean, they lost the vote fair and square yesterday. Now they want to totally change the meaning of this priority. This, and you know, I don't want to rehash all the arguments we had yesterday, but this priority is doing what they claim Texit might do, if successful, 20 or 30 years from now. All of this does it now. There is just simply no point, first of all, because we voted against it for, you know, I don't want to, again, I'm not going to rehash all the arguments, but adding this basically nullifies all the rest, because it, again, secession becomes the issue, and all people are going to be talking about is secession, when this priority is what we need to be doing now.
Okay.
Point of order.
State your point.
A motion for reconsideration must be made by a party who is part of the prevailing side, and we do not know the status of the movement.
Okay, so the movement originally, did you originally vote for including the, right now what we're voting on is suspending the rules, which is a 2/3 vote. So it's a new motion.
It's a motion to reconsider as it was first stated.
Yes, it's still
And as a motion to reconsider, the motion may only be made by a party who is a part of the prevailing side.
Okay,
We do not know that status at this time.
She was on the prevailing side of the motion to adopt the final list, which included Let Texas Run Texas. So.
Well, we've dealt with each individual
just
item.
let's go to this vote, okay?
I would object because it should be a party who is in the majority for the individual item.
You were overruled. We will go to this vote. Is there any further discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Hearing none.
I'd just like to say that I don't think that including this language changes the dynamic of Let Texas Rule Texas.
Okay. Seeing no further debate, all in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. All right, that is not a 2/3 majority. So, Mr. Briscoe, make your motion about the transportation issue.
Can I borrow that? It's, I believe, item 26 on the earlier report. It says, quote, ban climate mandates that restrict transportation, comma, which would include kill switches in vehicles, comma, road diets, comma, and restrictions on the owner's right to repair vehicles and equipment, period. The kill switch provision.
Okay, that motion has been made. Is there a second? All right, that's been seconded by Loretta Emmons. Let's get the text on screen. Under Let Texas Run Texas. All right, now you can speak to it.
The common thread is federal overreach, and in particular, the kill switch provision goes into effect in 2026. And if it goes into effect, it will be, as our British cousins would say, deuce difficult to reverse. It will add many thousands of dollars to the cost of vehicles, impacting everyone in this room, and more particularly those less advantaged. Furthermore, should it go into effect, it's an unproven technology subject to failure, stranding you. One example is it's supposed to include
we'll get to that. Yes. No, some of the other paragraph is going to end up other places. Well, for instance, Texas government should resist unconstitutional federal acts, violation of federal border laws. We already have an entire border security plank. The use of financial pressure by globalist institutions, nothing's actionable there, and we have the depository plank, or platform priority. Resistance should include stopping unconstitutional, we keep that. Defense of the border, that's another priority. Prohibition of, most of this is already covered in border and the depository already. To the yellow text? Yes.
Great. You could probably just go ahead and say that Texas demands freedom of travel. That would cover everything in there, make it concise, and it doesn't,
Microphone.
Sorry. Right. So anyway, yeah, Texans demand the freedom to travel. If we just throw that in there, it encompasses everything in there, makes it more concise. But I don't think that the text below, while generally kind of covering that, I think it's important for us to be able to say that, because in Texas, you don't have the freedom to travel. You don't have any freedom at all.
With respect, I would not agree. Although freedom of travel is important, it's important that the specifics here be included because of the specificity of federal legislation.
Right. Yeah. I understand that. I'm trying to work with what Scott's trying to do here, is what I'm saying. So,
if you want to add rather than replace that Texans should enjoy freedom of travel, I would support that as a separate amendment.
All right. Was there a second to Brett's amendment?
I hope not.
I didn't hear one. Okay, so let's go back to the yellow text. Any further discussion on the yellow text?
Yes.
Davis?
Yeah, I'd like to just include, if we may, the word government in front of the mandatory kill switch. Government mandated kill switches. No, in the second line.
I accept that as a friendly amendment.
Would include, government mandated kill switches.
Dan?
The problem about putting government in there, you have judges that are requiring mandatory kill switches and vapor things for drunk drivers.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here is regulatory mandates.
Yes.
So,
my understanding,
which I think will be clear when we rearrange the full priority.
My understanding of the
Okay,
court
Rick,
order.
you haven't been recognized. So right now we have an amendment that is being discussed. Dan just spoke against.
Yes.
Was it seconded? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The adding government? Okay, no one seconded it. So we're back to just mandatory. Is there any further discussion on the yellow text? Jeff?
One small motion, putting climate mandates on the front of this. I'm all for banning climate mandates. It's putting the other stuff under it because then it would be fine to let government mandated kill switches for other reasons, like for personal safety, we're going to protect your personal safety. It's XYZ. Like it doesn't belong under that umbrella necessarily.
Yeah. Is there any objection to making that change?
What if you left ban climate mandates, including those that restrict? That way you can cover it all.
Well, no, because you'd have the same problem. Basically, if this were a safety mandate instead of a climate mandate under this priority, it would be fine the way it's written. So is there any objection to taking out the word climate? All right, hearing none, take it out. All right, any further discussion on the yellow text?
Yeah, Janera Lewis, ST27, I just want to fully support this. We have to be specific without including everything. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. That passes. Now let's go to the other paragraph.
I thank the delegates.
Let's go to the other paragraph and work on taking out everything that's being done elsewhere and is not needed. which I think is going to end up being most of it. So instead of doing that, though, I would say let's take the first line. Texas government should, actually, not even Texas government should. What if we just said resist unconstitutional federal acts such as mandates that restrict transportation, and then put it in front of mandates that restrict transportation. So pull that out of there and then put it in front of mandates that restrict transportation. Well, no, I was going to recommend putting it in front of the existing, like the first paragraph. Yeah. So what if we took out comma such as and changed it to the word and?
Yes.
And then changed which would to such as?
Yes.
All right, now try, good luck figuring out what you have to highlight there to, to make it clear what changed. But I'll entertain this amendment. All right, that has been moved. Is there a second? All right, that's been seconded. Is there any further discussion around making that change?
Tiniest, is there
Yeah.
one tiniest thing? This would allow you to remove such as and make including. Removing such as and just go to including.
Oh, yeah. Any objection? No. All right. So take out such as. All right. Christy. I think we're kind of trying to build the priority like bit by bit here.
This seems to me to minimize the other federal acts aside from the transportation issue. And I'm just not sure people, they'll read about the transportation.
Microphone, please.
We can't hear you.
Microphone.
I'm sorry. It seems to me like the way it's structured right here tends to minimize the other federal acts that we're concerned about. And by the time they're done reading that paragraph, all they're going to think of is they're going to forget that it actually mentioned other federal acts there.
Well, I mean, let's look at the rest of so first of all, let's go ahead and vote on this amendment. Is there any further discussion on this amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, looking at the rest of paragraph 2, we've got violation of federal border laws. That's in the border priority. Use of financial pressure by globalist institutions that seek to destroy everything's Texan. God, this is not concise at all. That's in the gold and silver bullion priority. Resistance should include stopping unconstitutional federal acts in Texas. Nothing there yet. Defense of the border by Texans without interference by the federal government. Border priority. Prohibition of the use of globalist financial pressure. We actually added that language to the bullion priority. So the only thing we're missing is resistance should include stopping unconstitutional federal acts in Texas, which we already have in the first paragraph. So we've done the entire thing. So, any further discussion on, so my motion is going to be just delete that entire second paragraph. All right, that has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman? Back here.
Yes.
So I agree with the sentiment of what you're saying, but I don't think that we're done, so I would like to make an amendment after this, so please nobody get antsy and call the question.
Okay.
Me too.
Understood. All right, Paul?
Yes, are we excluding now the financial acts?
Wait, where is that?
The financial pressure?
Oh, that's in the gold and silver priority.
Thank you. Yes.
So, any further discussion on removing this paragraph? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, that passes. Spencer.
Okay, I would now like to add the language, ensure that Texans are free to give or withhold consent for any vaccine without coercion.
Could I make an amendment to that?
Okay,
And-
let's get the language up first, and then
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Michael, if you want to copy and paste it, it's from rank number 23 on the first revote, if that is helpful to you.
23, all right.
And then it would just start with the word ensure.
All right, a motion has been made to add that text. It has been seconded. Rhonda, your motion.
I talked to the lady who talked to us yesterday about the vaccine, and I specifically asked her, if y'all remember, would medical freedom cover that? And I talked to her again today, and she said yes. So that covers more than just that. It also covers the lady whose child, she's come here twice to testify about her child was forced to take a treatment that she didn't want, and it killed her daughter. Okay, so medical freedom would also cover her, because if you have a child and they have cancer and you go the normal route to the doctor and you choose not to take what they tell you, you don't have that choice as a parent. And that's what happened to her. But it was a different illness. But I know people who've had kids with cancer. They tried not to go the normal route and to do naturopathic care. They could not. The doctor took them to the court, and they had to do that. And so she's not the only person that's happening to, and this covers vaccine and that.
Point of information.
State your point.
Is that a federal issue or a state issue?
That's in our state.
So this is dealing with federal. That's the reason why I'm not sure if it fits, because this is dealing specifically with federal overreach, and that's a state issue specifically.
All right, Spencer.
Okay, so briefly, I think that medical freedom is under threat from the federal government, but I'm going to, because my motion was not seconded yet, I'm going to...
No, it was.
Oh,
It was.
Okay. Well, then I would like for her to be able to make her amendment to make it more broad and be
Yes.
medical freedom, please.
I would like to make an amendment to his to add medical freedom.
Okay. Do you have language?
For any vaccine, let me think, ensure that Texans are free to give or to withhold consent for any vaccine or medical treatment?
Okay, or medical treatment.
Does that cover it?
For any vaccine or medical treatment. Treatment, yeah. I think you just want to say, or medical treatment after any vaccine.
Freedom, though. We have to use the word freedom. I don't know where we put that.
Texans are free.
Ensure that Texans have medical freedom.
But then we have to define medical freedom. I think you just want to put a word in there that gets at the idea and is actionable.
Can we expand vaccine to include all pharmaceuticals?
I think we're getting we're getting way in the weeds. We need to remember that we've only got an hour and a half left.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would submit that this is a federal action because virtually all, if not all, of the state actions were based on federal mandates.
Okay. So what is the motion you're making?
That we combine vaccine and medical
But
freedom.
you need to propose an edit to the sentence.
Okay. Texans have medical freedom to give or withhold consent for any vaccine.
Okay.
or treatment.
Okay, what if we said Texans have medical freedom and are able to give or withhold consent for any vaccine?
Without coercion.
Yeah, for any vaccine or medical treatment without coercion. Without coercion. Okay, so you would say, and then I think you would take out everything from the first instance of Texans to the second instance of Texans. Yep. Okay, does that cover it? All right, any objection to making this change? Hearing none, go ahead and make that the new yellow text. All right, any objection to adopting the text in yellow? Hearing none, we will, that is adopted. Is there any further action on this item?
So I know we're kind of getting into the weeds here, but we're talking about federal overreach. Would this be an opportunity for us to also include red flag laws?
This is becoming a Christmas tree. Yeah, it's...
That's what we talked about this morning when, the first thing, when we revisited.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just too tired to word it. Help me.
Yeah, I'm going to entertain a motion to call the question. All right. So, okay, a motion to call the question has been made and seconded. All in favor of ending debate on this priority and moving on to one of our other two, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right. Okay, that passes. All in favor of adopting this as the final language for Let Texas Run Texas priority, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, that passes. All right, we have two left. They're election reform and stop sexualization. We are going to have to move fast through both of these. So, do we have draft language for the legislation priority? Okay, we have our list of items here.
Yeah, can we confirm, is that Bob Hall's language that we have on the screen?
He's right here, is it? Yeah, thank you for being here.
Point of information.
Yes.
Is that Senator Hall's language?
No, that's... Yeah, I think I emailed it to you a little while ago when he was presenting.
Yeah, you had put it up earlier today. Yeah.
I think that's going to be our foundation on this one. But we may have to kind of work our way through and build on it a little bit.
I have a motion.
Say your motion.
I would strike the word registered in front of Republicans.
We're not using this language.
Because at the present time, there's no such thing or provision.
Don't even look at the screen. That's not what we're doing. Yeah. Oh, wait, is it? Oh, okay. Oh, all right. I stand corrected. Okay. So I think we need to handle this kind of similarly to the border security item, where we kind of have an overall objective and then bullet points. So for an overall objective, do we have, I'm just going to add something. If you scroll up a tiny bit, while you're working on that, I'm going to try something different. Oh, okay. So something to the effect of, and I think it won't show up until I say it. I hit the OK button or something like that. Oh, wait. Editing. There we go. Okay. So our ensure secure election. Let me see what we're doing on. Okay, so are we not including anything about like combining elections, primaries for local voting, anything like that? Uniform election days. I think we rule all of that out, right? Okay, so.
Uniformed elections was moved to defer. Testing.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Yes.
What was your question about uniform elections?
Did we include that in our list of things we were going to include in the election blank?
No, but I would like to make an amendment at a later time.
Okay, let's get through this first. Is everyone okay with this prefatory clause? Ensure elections are secure from the point of registration to the final count of legal votes by.
Yes.
What if I say instead of the point of each registration to the final count of legal votes by? What if we said that?
You could use the verb secure elections, just instead of ensure elections are secure, you can say secure elections from, secure Texas elections or something.
All right, and then we can start with proof of citizenship to vote. So that takes care of this one. This is actually a different one. So that's done. Then after after that, okay, then we have voter rolls. So requiring the counties and the SOS to update the voter rolls between 90 and 30 days prior to any partisan election. Okay, so out of the voter rolls section, if we scroll down to that, I can update the document while you show on the screen the different sections. So go to voter rolls, because I think this is kind of the next step. What do we want to take from here? Because we don't want to take this entire paragraph. But what if we just took requiring the counties and the Secretary of State to update the voter rolls between 90 and 30 days prior to any partisan election?
I think that's good.
All right, is that enough, or is there anything else we need to include in there?
Didn't we talk about forcing people to re-register every couple of years?
I don't think we did. Oh, we did?
I think we threw that around, but it wasn't one of the ones we definitively talked about.
Okay, so do we want to say any partisan election or any election?
All municipal elections are nonpartisan, so
Yes.
that's the mayor of Houston, so.
Yeah,
all
and the
elections.
constitutional amendment elections and the local elections in May and the school board elections. I could just see that becoming unwieldy. What if we just said at 2-year intervals? Instead of between 90 and 30 days before every vote, before every election, what if we just said every 2 years?
No, sir. Actually, they're supposedly, they're supposed to be constantly cleaning them, so we want to give them something more strict than what they're doing now.
Okay.
I forgot what the time frame is, but it's certainly under 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. We're just kind of freewheeling it here because we don't have a lot of time. So I've got requiring the counties and the Secretary of State to update the voter rolls between 90 and 30 days prior to any partisan election. Is that fine?
Mr. Chairman?
Without the partisan.
Yes.
I think the Secretary of State would object to this because they would, under this, they'd have to clear the voter rolls before our runoffs.
No, a partisan election would just be the November election.
All elections.
Okay, well, now you are getting into all elections being several times every year. I think the intent here is what we really care about is fraudulent votes when Democrats are voting. So every 2 years, but that happens right before November 2024, right before November 2026, right before November 2028. I think that's what we're asking for here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
I believe that primaries are also partisan elections.
They are not.
Yes.
How are they not?
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm trying to find something here that isn't 5 lines long. So that isn't 5 lines long and also isn't completely impractical. Are we fine with annually? Okay, some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. Can we put this on the screen?
That's not overly frequent, but it's more frequent than just every 2 years.
All right.
The problem is Harris County is always conducting an election. I think they do like 5 a year.
Yeah, we have 5 elections every year in Harris County. So this would be too much. Like 90 days would be within 30 days before the next election. So,
So can I make the motion for annually?
yes.
I make the motion for annually.
Okay. Motion has been made to replace this with annually.
I'll second.
Okay, that's been seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay. It passes. Sorry I'm secretarying for you. Okay. So scrolling back down, I think the next.
Scott.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to add that after annually.
Add what?
It's 60 days prior to the November election date.
Okay, a motion has been made to add.
Yeah. Yeah. That works too.
At least.
Yeah. Okay, is there any objection to just saying every August?
August 1st or August 15th, something, you have to give them a specific date to have.
I just, one small, sorry if I can be recognized.
Go ahead.
Add at least, because you don't want to tell them they can't do it any other time. At least annually in August before, right? They're free to do it every day if they want to, but they have to do it at least this much.
Well, okay, if we say in August, then the only month they can do it is in August.
Yeah, so like whatever else, whatever other language, at least. That's what I'm concerned with. Let them do it every day if they want to clean the voter rolls every day.
Okay, so can we just leave at least annually? All right, moving on. So we've got proof of citizenship to vote. We've got voter rolls. Go ahead and highlight that. Now, what we've got left is restricting mail-in ballots, election reform, and prosecuting voter crimes. I think that one should go last. So let's do mail-in ballots next.
What about countywide voting, eliminating?
Precinct voting was.
That's what we have here. Yeah, we're not even there yet, because his language is about what happens on election day. Okay, so can we do mail-in voting next? All right. So we would say restrict mail-in ballots to disabled military and eligible citizens who are out of their precinct for the entire voting period. Any objection there?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to amend that, please.
Okay.
Can we do, instead of out of precinct, can we do out of county?
Out of their county?
I can be across the street and out of my precinct.
Is there any objection? Okay, who objected to that? Okay. All right.
Because we're asking to go back to precinct voting. So if they're going to be out of the precinct, they can't vote other places.
Every county can be crossed in a one-day horse trip. So that's why they're drawn the way they are. So if you're I think county is reasonable, but is there any further discussion on that amendment? All in favor of county, say aye. Aye. All in favor of precinct, say aye.
Aye.
It's county. All right. Okay. So that's mail-in balloting. Next would be, okay, so we've got that. Next is all of the election day stuff. So that's where we go to Bob Hall's language. So how do we reduce this into 2 or 3 bullet points?
Maybe to start, we should break them out into bullets, and then we can kind of see which ones we'll put together, because it's hard to read that, maybe each sentence or something.
Okay. Is anti-counterfeiting paper important for anyone? What does that mean? What makes paper anti-counterfeiting paper?
Special paper and gold weaving in there. There's all kinds of things you can do to paper.
Okay.
So you just can't copy
Okay.
it.
Chinese can't use their bamboo paper and trick us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anti-counterfeiting paper that they're going to run out of in Harris County.
Yeah, we did it in our county, too.
Bear
Yeah.
County bought paper for voter registration cards out of country, and out of 254 counties in Texas, Bear County was the last one.
That's fantastic. Okay. All right. Any objection to just copying this item over to our next bullet point? Hearing none, it's done. Okay. Are there any other changes we want to make to this bullet point? Any amendments? Oh, yeah.
Yes, amendment, after
Yes.
paper, use the word "and," I think. What do y'all think? Yeah.
Okay, let's just, what if we just move sequentially numbered?
Before paper ballots, yeah.
So it's anti-counterfeiting, sequentially numbered.
Yeah, you could hyphenate sequentially numbered and make it easier to read, so to speak.
I don't agree with putting a hyphen there. I'll give it on that. Okay. All right. Is everyone fine with this? All right.
Sorry, what tiny nitpick? The back, and signed on the back by, just signed on back by election official. Just for some reason that doesn't read right to me.
Okay. Did that take care of it?
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. Sorry for those definite. Sorry for missing those definite articles.
The intent of Senator Hall was to require an actual hand signature rather than a stamp.
Yeah. Signed in wet ink.
Scott, I have a concern.
Unlike certain petitions.
I have a concern, Scott.
Yes, Robert.
So I have a concern that within this entire section, it sounds like we're going to include all of them as bullet points. I think, to be honest with you, I think we need to consolidate every little thing in there into one bullet point. If we have 7, 8 bullet points on
it's
election,
going to be really unwieldy.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Can we just break it out first, then let's think about it?
I just want to make sure we're clear. We shouldn't be including every single bullet point as part of the section. So like, that's like 5 bullet points by itself. So I think we need to consolidate this further.
As an election judge that might have to sign 4,000 ballots, I object.
I think that is actually a pretty typical, like, we do that already in Harris County. It's not that big of a deal.
We do that.
If you go back up, he's got the single person voting period.
Mhm.
Above that, he's got, right? He's got the single person voting period. And if we just say move to a single in-person voting period, and then say, and also countywide voting. Or I'm sorry, precinct.
No county.
Okay, so,
Maybe
Okay, to shorten that,
single in-precinct, in-person
to
voting.
shorten that friendly amendment, the issue is that the gap, eliminate the gap in
Eliminating the
voting.
gap.
And like the gentleman said, eliminate countywide voting, and that would shorten it.
It's the early voting gap. It's called the early voting gap.
all right, how's that?
That works.
You think it'll what?
Do you want to say at the precinct, at the very end of that?
Yes.
A lot of the original list is gone for some reason.
How's that? How's that?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment.
Yes.
I would like to put standardized in-person uniform elections with early voting. So-
No, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
What if we just said standardized in-person voting with early voting limited to a period of no longer than 9 days, no gap before election day, using and assigned precinct polling locations only. What about this? Does that work?
That doesn't get to the point of the uniform election.
You're trying. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to shove uniform election days into this item.
Yes. It's something we discussed last night, so I'm not trying to shove it in there without having previously discussed it with you.
I know. I think it's a different. That's a different bullet point. I think. Rick.
They've changed the words polling locations to voting centers.
Trying to get away from
Voting
the-
centers are the countywide voting. It's still precinct.
They've done away with the old polling.
Can we use assigned precinct voting locations? Does that work?
Yes.
Just say precinct centered.
All right. Any further discussion on this bullet point? All right, seeing none. Okay, next, I agree with you, Spencer. Let's put in uniform election days. So how do we word? Because I don't think we had draft wording for this.
So there was wording. It was number 31 on the rank if we want to start from there.
Okay. I know this will work, but what do I do?
Can I speak against this?
Hang on,
issue
let's,
with
okay.
It's all right. The issue we had in El Paso is when you put all the candidates at the same time, then the local candidates are fighting with the national organizations for trying to get their message out. All the advertising's bought up by the big boys. So that's why this doesn't necessarily work. That's why
So this is something like as a local elected official myself who's worked on lots of campaigns locally, this is something I've thought about a lot. Is it better to do it on uniform election days? Is it better to do it in its own election in May? Everything on the same ballot? Does separate work better? And because of some unique circumstances kind of in my area, I've seen it done every which way. Every which way. And I'm convinced what is best, unless you live in a very deep blue area, I'm absolutely convinced what works best is having the election on the presidential and midterm ballot. I'm convinced, because I think your job at that point as a local elected official is that everybody is showing up, everybody who's going to vote is showing up, like 70% of your community is showing up to vote for President Trump. 55% are showing up to vote for President Trump. And you just make sure all of those people know that you are also a Republican. And they vote for you too. You don't have to turn everybody out. You don't have to bang your head against the wall trying to get people to vote. They're gonna show up. You just have to make sure they know about you. And so anyway, that's my take on it. I think uniform elections help considerably. But I'll go to Janera and Jeff.
Quickly, I am in a very deep blue area, and having uniform elections would actually help us because people spread it out. If there's a popular election, like they love the governor or they love Trump or Cruz, they will actually show up and vote. They hold elections in really obscure times, so there's low turnout, and they can control it and manipulate it more easily. Thank you.
Jeff.
Yeah, a couple things. One, this will save us tons of money.
Oh, yeah.
Because we will be limiting the number of elections greatly. That will also help us increase our poll watchers and workers because we're not spreading them out and wearing them out throughout the year. And it will also avoid the cases that we see a lot of times. I mean, we've had school board races and things like that. You know, a whole school board district will have 200 people vote because they scheduled the election for the Saturday before Mother's Day. And they've done that purposely for a long time. The other question that I have here is this says elections with all candidates at all levels, which I totally agree with. But how do we handle things like bond issues and things like that are not candidate driven? I'd like to see them all, every election somehow worked into this uniform election day.
Yeah, and bond.
Yeah.
Issues.
With all, so the only thing is the ballot propositions don't go through the partisan primaries. There's a little bit of a disconnect there.
So we just moved the bond issues to the general election in November. There's no primary for those.
With all candidates and other measures, let's just say and other measures.
Yes.
And then we need a different word for elected. So,
And it doesn't have to be partisan.
what if we say, instead of with all, what if we said for, at all levels, for candidates, and establish uniform elections for candidates and other measures at all levels conducted in the same partisan process through closed primaries in March and general elections in November. How's that?
It could be all elections, not all levels. All elections is all elections.
I think all levels makes clear that we mean president, senator, congressman, mayor, mud district, school board, dog catcher, everything.
When you say partisan, I'm sorry, sir, point of information, when you say partisan process, what do you mean?
That would mean every candidate for everything would have an R or a D by their name.
I think
you
we
have a
wanted
primary.
this for all elections. Like, in other words, the municipal, like electing the mayor of Houston's a big deal to Democrats.
Yeah, but I think he's saying that every election is partisan election.
Oh, that's the part I don't get, because all municipal races by law in Texas are nonpartisan.
Right, that is what this would seek to change.
No.
Yeah.
Although that is true by law, but in the minds of the voter, it's not.
I've said this for the past 2-3 years as chairman of the RPT Local Government Committee. There is no such thing as a nonpartisan election. Every election is a choice between conservative values and leftist progressive values.
Yeah, but in this case, that in theory is absolutely correct. But in this case, where we're actually ordering elections and when they're going to happen, there is an actual functional R or D beside your name, but not in municipal races.
Yeah, that is what this would seek to change. Jeff?
I'm sorry, I know that this is maybe slightly out of order, but this refers to this entire plank. I like this idea, I really do. We've talked about it, it's been discussed somewhat before, but I want to bring up again, as we're putting this giant conglomeration of election reforms together, we are not the platform committee. What we are saying with this is if a representative or a senator votes no on this plank, they cannot run as a Republican. Does this rise to that level? Is this ready for us to strip people of being in office as a Republican if they don't vote for this plank? I don't think so. I would, if this was the platform committee, I'd vote for this in a heartbeat. Love it. Let's get it on there. This needs time and this needs more discussion before we're censuring people for not supporting this. I'm sorry.
All right, Rick and then Hans.
Yeah, my understanding is we can only censure people for 3 or more violations of core principles.
Principles or legislative priorities.
Yeah, and it would take 3 or more.
3 or more, that's correct.
When we are putting laundry lists together like this, that's assembling 3 of 8.
Well,
when we've got 15 items on one item.
If someone with an R after their name
Okay,
doesn't
Hans
support
is
election
recognized.
integrity,
Yeah,
maybe they aren't.
I speak against this bullet. I think we're just going too far. It's a little too much for us to start telling the city that they have to have partisan elections for everything. And we've got enough bullets. Let's just take this one out.
All right. Dr. Malati?
Yeah, I understand the thought process behind this, but I think we need to focus on what's going to secure our elections and make them accurate and transparent, and that is a slightly different category. This bullet point doesn't really lead to that. It's more of convenience and kind of making it more efficient, but not to accuracy and security of our election.
All right, Erica McCrutchen has called the question. Is there any objection to moving into a vote on this bullet point? Seeing none, all in favor of including this bullet point say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. It fails. All right, what do we have left? We have standardized in-person voting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can we have division on that, please?
Huh?
Can we have division on that, please?
Okay. I think it's too late. It was pretty overwhelming, Spencer. We have 54 minutes left. Christy.
I'd like to make a motion to add a separate bullet point that does not include uniform election, but that does close the primaries.
Okay. Yeah, we have that down here. Okay, close party primaries. It says for only registered Republicans. I know it's been brought up that we don't have a registry of Republicans yet. How do you want to handle that?
Well, or we leave it, and that becomes our recognition of our own rule.
Okay. Are you fine with the language as it is?
I just think this is too much here. We don't need it. We're already working on it, and they're addressing it right now, and we're trying to skinny this up a bit.
I'll speak to that because I agree, and we had a really good conversation about that earlier. However, I've talked to a number of people on rules that have also mentioned that they would like to see it in priorities, and so there's a little bit of conflation.
All right, Michael.
I'll hop onto that too. I've talked to quite a few House people, senators. They want us to they want to see legislative action on it too. Party can do it, but there needs to be legislative action as well.
All right, is there any further discussion on including the bullet point?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do this to you. My entire SD demands it of me. I was hoping we didn't put this in here. What it is in the Democrats are very crafty and they use their votes very wisely. And in a red district, they vote in your primaries to get you the worst Republican candidate.
Yeah.
In the blue districts, the primary is their general election. They vote in their own primaries.
Right.
Okay? So in our blue areas, we are bullied and harassed. You cannot get a job. You cannot get a promotion. Your daughter cannot be cheerleader if you will be a registered Republican. What I'm asking for is keep the primaries closed, but please allow, since this is a party choice, an option for counties who don't want to close their primary, voted by the CEC. There are multiple people down where
Can't
we
do
are.
it. I don't think you could do that because we have statewide races and we have a lot of legislative districts that straddle multiple counties. So like what would happen in the Dade-Phelan district if Jefferson County kept its primary open, but Jasper County closed theirs?
Well, if it was a blue versus red thing, the blue district would be able to step up the Republicans. And in the red district, you wouldn't have Democrats in it. Like what you have is you have primarily counties are one color or the other pretty much. And where we are, this will kill us. We actually have Democrats cross over when they like a Republican to support them. If we do this in our county, this will kill us. And you can't register even if you are a Republican. So that's why I'm asking for an option, or at least to consider one. I know you think it's complicated, but this, like, we're purple turning red, and this will stop it.
Okay, I think at this point you're arguing against the merits of closed primaries.
I'm arguing for an option for counties to be able to choose.
I would be reluctant for us to include a provision that would be inconsistent with our own rules that have been adopted. But anyway, do you want if you want to make a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, that has been seconded.
Can I support my second?
Yes.
When you live on the border and you're in the valley and areas like that where you have to run as a Democrat, but you're really a Republican, or you won't get elected, it's the same thing. They're going to vote on the Democrat. Uvalde was the same. They voted on the Democrat side for Trace King because he was a very Republican, but he couldn't get elected. And so the counties along the border, a lot of them are swinging, but you're going to discourage that because if, same as she says, they will not do business with them and they'll go out of business. You're talking Carrizo Springs, I can tell you, Laredo, places all along the border. So I'm with you on this.
All right. Is there any further discussion?
Yes. I hear this argument all the time. And, you know, I grew up in Brownsville. But you say, so somehow if you register as a Republican, you will receive death threats and lose your job. But if you don't register as a Republican, but just vote in the Republican primary, which is basically the same thing and is also public information, how does that also the same thing? I fail to see how simply asking people who are currently voting in the Republican primary to affiliate as Republicans, how that is such a huge difference.
I can respond.
Okay, Brady had his hand up, and then we'll go back to you.
Scott, being 10-10, I'm going to move to call to question.
All right, question has been called on this amendment. Is there a second?
I
All right,
really
all-
would like to respond. I
Please be clear about what we're voting on.
Okay, so we are voting on the language, the highlighted language. All right. Yes, well, yeah, so we're about to, okay. All in favor of moving to a vote on the highlighted language, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, that question is called. All in favor of adding the highlighted language, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Nay. That fails. Okay. Are there any further additions here? We do have a couple of things left in this section that we haven't added in yet.
Mr. Chairman, point of information.
Yes.
Do we really want to leave the word registered in there because we have no provision to register?
We're going to. But, I mean, the language has been adopted as it was, so, yes.
Point of information.
Say your
Can we
point.
get a word count of all of the ones that we are currently considering? The ones above all the bullet points. Can we get a word count on just that legislative priority as a whole?
I mean, can we finish it before we do that? Or?
Mr. Chairman, point of personal privilege.
Yes.
How is a word count not wasting more time than a hand raised
Because it's
vote
gonna
would have
take
earlier?
It's going to take 5 seconds.
And the reason I'm asking for this is because I just looked at the 2022 Permanent Committee Report on Elections. It was 88 words. Okay? And
114.
I'm pretty sure that this is larger than that. And that was the longest one of all of the 15 that was approved. I think no matter what happens tonight, whoever's part of the permanent committee is going to have to make adjustments to this particular priority to make it shorter.
I count 114 words.
Otherwise, what we're doing is, by including all this language on what we're asking for, I think unintentionally, are weighing, we're putting our thumbs on the scale on what we, even though I understand a lot of us will say election security should be high up on the list, I fear what's going to happen is that when we include all this language and we compare it to all of the other legislative priorities that are significantly shorter, then what I'm going to see, what I think what the delegates are going to see is, oh, because they put so much language in there, I should weigh it differently than all of the others, either positively or negatively. And I think I want to make sure we're clear that we need to have a standard on or at least a limit on how many, on how large the language is. Otherwise, I think what we're doing is that we're putting our thumbs in the scale on all these different issues.
Can I comment on his, can I
Okay.
that?
You can, I mean, we are in debate on the overall priority.
I think, none of us will disagree that this is either number one or number two priority. Because if we don't have free and fair elections, nothing else matters. And there are so many issues, and every delegate knows that there are so many issues, and that we have to fix this. We have one shot to fix this, or we're likely not going to have a second chance to fix this. And I think the delegates will interpret this as us being thorough to make sure that we don't miss the chance to fix this when we have it.
All right, Loretta?
I completely agree with you, and I want to put my thumb on this issue and make it the most important
Yes.
one.
Okay.
Because if we don't get this right, nothing else matters.
Yes.
Did we get a word count on this?
Yeah, 114.
What is it?
114.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the outstanding items that still haven't been added are vote verification, county, precinct, and state county, non-software programmable optical ballot reader at the precinct, paper poll books, no internet-capable machines, and amend election code 65 for counting and video security, and prosecuting election crimes.
And also
Hans.
the verification.
I would say the only one prosecuting election crimes should rise to the level that we add. The stuff about the ballot machines, I did check, our machines do read paper marked ballots, but those still have to be programmed. Any type of automated system is going to have to be programmed. So let's leave that out. Let's just go to the prosecution, which I think a lot of people have brought up.
Okay, So is there a motion to add legislation? Okay. Legislation to allow independent state-level prosecution of the election code and other statutes that Soros-controlled district attorneys are unlikely to prosecute.
We got to take out Soros.
Yeah,
Simplify.
I think, can you scroll up? Okay, can we, so I took out Soros. Is everyone fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know if we need this latter half of that statement.
All right. Any objection to deleting everything up past the election code? No. Objection. Oh, to deleting it all? Deleting and through prosecute.
So we're, okay.
Yeah.
That's
All
I
right.
withdraw.
Okay, so what does this do that isn't already in the law? Because the law already allows the Attorney General to prosecute election crimes.
Then we move to change this to explicitly codify the ability.
Yeah, codify.
Explicitly codify the ability, like essentially, oh, hey, I get to check off the entire legislative bingo card. Belt and suspenders this to make sure that it is, that we're adding another layer of making sure that it's allowed, right?
But promote.
How about
What is the word independent doing here? Can we just say state-level prosecution of the election code by the Attorney General?
How about just provide for?
Explicitly allow or provide for?
I would say explicitly codify the ability of the Attorney General to prosecute.
And you can take the first two words.
Yeah, that's good.
Is it state level, or do we want him to?
Well, I mean, if it's the Attorney General.
That's part of it, right?
Yeah, I'll take that out. All right. Any objections? All right. Anything else we need to add to this priority?
Should it say any violations as opposed to, or no?
I think it's implied.
We have to talk about the counting and then the publication of
So-
the data. So we should say precinct level counting through a hand count or a dumb counter, and publication at the precinct level of the results.
No. Can we call the question?
Okay, a motion has been made to call the question. Is there a second? All right, that has been seconded. All in favor of moving to a vote on this priority, say aye.
Aye.
We have 7 bullets. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
That passes. So that is our 14th priority, and the
I would like to amend the list with one,
I
please.
think we need another
The
vote.
I'd like to add a second bullet point.
no, we're already done.
Well, we just called the question. We have to
I think
No, we
just
took
called
our
the
final vote.
question.
Yeah, called the question and took our final vote. Okay, the last one is sexualization and gender ideology. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we passed that item. I think we merely called the question.
Yeah, we voted on the call to question, but we need to make a final vote.
Okay, that's well taken. All in favor of adopting the election priority, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. It passes.
Oh, I thought you said it was closed.
We called the question.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So there was no way to make another amendment, regardless. Brady.
Well, it's going to be on this next one.
Yes. Go ahead.
If we could put my language up, I don't know if you have it
Scroll
there.
down. Is it that one?
Negative. I don't know, the language that I sent in earlier. I don't know what that is.
All right. No, I've got it somewhere.
That's the
I've got it
plank, I
somewhere.
believe.
Okay. Yeah, I've got it. Just have to figure out what tab I was in. Okay, so we're going to go below what we're calling sub.
So without objection, I would like to make one small fix and then make a motion to this, and that is to add intentional before exposing. At that very end of it, involved in intentional exposure, or intentionally exposing, intentionally.
Okay.
So without objection, I'd like to add that and then make a motion to consider this language, and if seconded, speak on this.
All right. So without okay. I mean, since it's before the motion, it just gets added in. So that motion has been made. Is there a second? Seconded by Loretta Emmons. All right. Can you go ahead and speak to it?
Yes. Okay. So what I tried to do here is put together the repeal of the affirmative defenses, specifically citing the code where the affirmative defenses took out the obscenity exemption as it's not used in 2.5, so that way it's clear for the lawmakers, and then included the prohibiting taxpayer funding to the entities that promote inappropriate content. So there's a couple things that we've kind of been going back and forth on this, and that is the waiver to immunity and the creation of an Office of Inspector General. And my reasoning here for why not to include those is that by creating the penalties that are created at the end of this, revocation of a teaching license, forfeit of pension, and criminal prosecution of any employer contractor, you take care of the waiver of immunity. You're creating a penalty, so that's no longer necessary. You are also, by prohibiting taxpayer funding for these, you're banning this instruction. You're creating a situation where this can be investigated by the Attorney General, and the Office of Inspector General is not needed. Lastly, on this is the only other thing missing from this, which it got put to the deferred, was the detransition. And I worked on language to try to figure out how to get that in there. However, there's no way to do that without drastically inflating the issue. I talked to Representative Oliverson about that, and he agreed that there's no way to add it in there, but also just informed me that the detransition issue is going to be a priority of his and going to be something that he pushes in the legislature independently. So.
All right. Is Spencer?
So I want to speak against this, but only for the reason that I think that the one right above it is a much stronger priority, because the Inspector General does need to be in there. We've heard testimony from dozens of people, maybe not dozens, but at least a dozen people that have called specifically for that. So I'm only speaking against what you have written there, so we can consider what's above it.
All right, Johan.
Can we see both of them on the screen together so that we can compare them?
Point of information while you're pulling that up. No.
Yes. Yeah, go
Scott,
ahead.
the question is, by saying or repealing Kinsey-based laws, are we telling our legislators that they have to repeal it? You know, isn't that the Attorney General's job versus our representatives? And I'm just concerned about us burdening us. That concept needs to be in here, but it may need to be worded differently.
Right now, we're still discussing the main motion that Brady Gray made. So it's the paragraph one, not the bullet points. So is there an amendment? There was discussion, but not an amendment. Is there any further discussion on this paragraph?
The last thing I'll say is, again, regarding the Office of the Inspector General, because it's another thing that I understand the desire for it, but in speaking with a few legislators about it, the concern is that this, as it's written, gives them something that's very accomplishable when we start adding in more things, specifically that which the responsibility, that's a very complicated, very difficult thing to do. Not that we shouldn't ask them to do difficult things, I'm not suggesting that at all. But this is something that is very achievable, measurable, that we can get done.
Okay. Do you object to putting quotes around harmful materials just to indicate that stands out? Spencer?
So it's not just the Inspector General that's missing from this, it's also compelling superintendents to report sex crimes. So the one with bullet points is a much stronger priority.
All right. Julie?
I'm also going to speak against it. I think that the superintendents being compelled to report to law enforcement is incredibly important, as well as establishing the Inspector General. And also one other piece that I think is important on the taxpayer funding to any entity that permits the presentation, encouragement, and so on. Not that they're instructing them, because they can always say, we don't teach that, but they are allowing those types of ideologies to be introduced to our kids.
Michael?
I'll agree with that too. I'm going to speak against this. I've heard from many people that they want an education inspector general. Plus, I live in Round Rock, Texas, and we know that there's nothing wrong with the school district there.
Okay, so does someone want to make a motion? If you're just raising your hand to debate, we probably need either a motion or someone want to make an amendment?
I make the motion to add the Inspector General.
Okay. So is there a second?
Second.
All right. Okay. Establish an Inspector General for Education to enforce the laws. Do we need to go into any more detail than that? Or, okay. Do you want to speak to it?
I did, just real quick. I just want to say that we do have two sponsors right now, Cam Campbell in the House and Shaheen in the Senate. And they are actively working on having an IG, so this is what they want.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this?
I would like to
Right.
give some information, just something that could happen with this that I see like right off the bat, is a lot of schools, small schools, we no longer have a librarian and we have like an aide in the library, and they could get hired and not know what books are in the library or anything about this. They're not educated at all on this situation, and they could come in and right there you're going to forfeit any type of pension and criminal prosecution of that person. Ours is not a bad person, but she wouldn't know anything about what we're talking about right here, even though I've asked her about the books. She didn't put them on the shelves.
So the word intentionally should be in front of exposed, and it solves that issue. It should have been in there already.
Okay,
but
thank
yeah,
you.
the word intentionally in front of exposed.
All right. Jeff?
Sorry, I think we understand what this means, but if I'm just reading the sentence, not having heard the testimony or anything else, and I just see establish an Inspector General for Education to enforce the laws, that makes no sense. It is like the Office of the Inspector General was about law enforcement agencies within school districts not reporting and not following the law on reporting and being proper law enforcement agencies. That has to be part of this sentence, or else it is a meaningless gibberish piece to anyone who wasn't in this room.
Well, plus, if you look at the one on the left, it starts out with stop grooming of minors and then goes on from there. That's a much stronger opening and kind of gives the context of the whole thing, whereas repeal affirmative defenses in Texas penal codes.
Hang on. I'm looking for the original language in the Inspector.
I have some language from the 911 paper.
Federal law, the lower your
Point of information?
Yes.
Sorry. We're trying to take the bulleted list on the left and turn it into a paragraph item on the right. Is that correct?
No, we're starting with the paragraph item and just adding the Inspector General to it.
Okay, because I'm going to say, like, I know we've been putting this together. The bullet list is way clearer and easier to understand. Pulling it into a bulleted list is going to be
Yeah.
easier for them.
Yes.
It's nice to have it in paragraph form when they're short, but if it's going to have all these items in it, bullet lists are better.
Thank you.
More
So-
effective.
Scott, if you want to move to the bullet, I mean, let's, did I have a second on my motion? Do we want to vote that? Do we want to call it to question so we can move on to this other, and then we can begin working on that?
Okay, just remember, we've got 27 minutes left to.
No, that's why I'm trying to speed the process
all
along
the
here.
titles, like.
So I'll call to question the motion to accept the language on the right so that we can then move on forward.
Okay. Wait, to accept the language on the right?
I'm calling to question the motion to accept the language on the right, because that's the motion before us.
Okay, so, but is it your intention that this fails so that we can consider the bullet point lists on the left?
Correct.
Okay. All right. All, with no objection, we'll move to vote. All in favor of the language on the right, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, that fails. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to use the language on the left.
All right, that's been moved, seconded. All right.
And then I'm going to make a motion to amend to change the word grooming to say stop the sexualization of minors. Grooming, and that.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to replace the second bullet point with the first sentence of what used to be the language.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
All right. Got it? Perfect. All right. Establish an inspector general to enforce the laws. We need more detail there. I'm going back to the original item, which actually didn't even make it into the list of 43.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
I have the handout in front of me, and it may provide some clarity.
Yeah, I think the only problem with that was, so I think I've got it. The problem with the original version was it is itself a paragraph. We need to sum this up. I know exactly what it would do. I'm just trying to figure out a way to sum it up.
That's what I was trying to work on.
Scott, I'd like to make a motion to amend that particular deal for the Inspector General to be education, Inspector General for Education, to investigate and refer criminal conduct to the proper authorities. No, he's just an inspection deal. He finds the fact, he's a finder of facts. He has to
Yeah, inspector generals don't have prosecutorial authority.
That's every inspector
Yeah,
general.
they investigate. Okay, is there any further debate? Is there any objection to that change? All right.
I have one, yeah.
I would just like to see that we just explain what an inspector general is.
Yeah.
And not write the law for them, but just say what it is. And it's, they investigate fraud, waste, and abuse, and they provide oversight.
Okay.
They refer any criminal deals to the criminal courts.
Yeah. I don't mind the amendment.
No, they don't do it for law enforcement.
Okay, how's this?
They don't refer it to law.
I don't know, you want to look at it? I put parentheses in the section on the left in the middle. You see it down there?
Yeah.
Scott, they only refer it to the prosecution. They do not refer it to the law enforcement. Law enforcement is just an investigation agency itself. That's why it goes to for the prosecution. The proper authority is the best way to do it, because it could be the DA, it could be a local JP,
Okay.
or anything like that.
Yes. Uh-huh.
No, it's a straight, it's a direct order repeal.
Okay, it's not clear, like, if you don't know anything about the subject of obscenity, is it clear in the second bullet point that that's what that actually refers to?
So the reason why, I would say yes, but also I was specifically asked to take out the words obscenity exemptions because that language is not used in 43.25. It's a different affirmative defense.
Okay. All right.
Offer another.
I'll go to Jeff first and then you.
Okay, I just wanted to see if we can make a clarification in the last bullet point. We say report sex crimes to local law enforcement. I would like to put in something like non-district in there to specify that we're not talking about reporting it to your own police force.
How's that?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
And then Scott, I'd like to offer one last amendment to change the language of the first bullet point to the language from the paragraph from prohibit to libraries, just that language in the center.
Do what?
The language on the paragraph from prohibit to libraries in place of the language on the first bullet point.
I'm going to object to that.
Action.
Okay, so we would do this? Correct. I'll put them side by side so we can read them both.
We definitely need digital, the word digital in here. They were very specific about that repeatedly.
What happened to independent in front of inspector?
Okay, we're working on the first bullet point. Look at these two side by side. Which one of these do we prefer? The old one or the new one?
And so they're stacked on top of each other now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the new language would both create a legislative ban as well as prohibiting taxpayer funding and creating a legislative ban on instruction in schools and libraries.
Yep. Okay.
It's taxpayer funding.
Any school. I don't want any kid looking at porn. Daycare.
Okay, so is there any objection to removing the first bullet point and sticking with the replacement?
Object.
Okay, what's your objection?
I just think it's clear to include any entity that would permit, and that's the one word I'm kind of keen in on, that would allow it to go on, not that they are teaching it necessarily. And if I'm missing where the second one does that? Permit?
Second one's more
add the word any to the second one and make it work?
Right. No, my, yes, and that permits. They're allowing, we're talking about holding the entity accountable.
Yeah,
Yes.
so to add to the second bullet point to any entities that permit or promote.
And could I add permit or promote inappropriate physical and digital content?
Yeah. Any,
Or material.
any materials, because it doesn't have to be libraries or your homework. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put them in, but I'm not sure what the word any is doing here.
All? All?
Yeah.
I think content, yeah, to Scott's point, content is kind of doing that.
Yeah.
But it's covering both physical, digital, content.
Okay.
I think we need to be more specific that we're limiting this to sexual material. For example, if there's a book on big game hunting in Africa, someone might do.
So this is,
How about this? Does that work?
I really want to see the word digital, just because.
it's covering all content as it's written.
Yeah.
Okay. I just know they don't do it now.
Yeah,
That's why
no,
I
this
just wanted
covers
it in
all
there.
content.
Okay.
This is saying, this is a catch-all.
How about all forms of content? Does that clarify
Also-
any?
All content, I guess. I mean, I like.
Sexually doesn't work there, in the promote sexually content.
Permit. Sexually inappropriate. There you go. All right. Yeah. Okay. Any objection to removing the old bullet one? Hearing none? Okay. Are there any further amendments to the entire text
Yeah.
of, who was that? Peyton.
Scott, the last two bullet points and the way they're worded, they sequence into, it almost implies that under TEA rules that the proper authorities under that penultimate paragraph could be TEA instead of the police, and so and that, and then it should be an independent inspector general to make it clear, I think.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Is there any objection to those changes?
We should say, I think we should say law enforcement authorities, because prosecutorial authorities mean the county or district attorney, and police normally investigate matters.
Just amend, proper authorities proper authorities covers it. Whichever one is correct, that covers it.
Jeff, I think what they were bringing up is like the proper authority is not just TEA, right? Okay. Is there any further discussion on these items? Hearing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor of adopting this priority, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, that's done. And I think we have our list of let's work on, okay.
Titles.
Yeah,
That's
we
the fun
have to do
part.
titles.
Title wave.
Here, let's do we have the survey ready to send out? Oh, okay. Well, because I was thinking we could send out the survey while we work on titles.
Yeah. We know what the old titles are.
We
I mean,
know what the old titles are. Yeah.
Two parents.
No. What we're going to do is rank them. Everybody's going to rank them 1 through 15. Yeah.
Point of information, so on the
Yes.
survey that you'll send, so just to be clear, number 1 means that's most important, and 15 is least important, correct?
Yes, we'll make that clear.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
It's a ranking thing, so you move it up and down. So highest on the list is number 1, lowest is number 15. You just move it around.
Wave's on.
He's going to email it to me. I'll email it out to the committee.
Are we doing title?
Are we waiting for an email or are we?
I'm going to send an email. I'm waiting for his email, then I'm going to forward it. Everybody is getting emails from the committee at this point, right?
Whatever you call it.
Okay.
I think so, unless you sent some, I didn't.
All right, that appears to work. All right, everybody should have a new link. And while we work on our surveys, we will we'll start refining titles. Are we going to start on titles? Or is everyone still working on their surveys?
Still working. Just got it.
Okay, yeah, it should be going out right now.
I'll start. Can we change school choice to educational freedom?
All right, is there any objection to that? Hearing none, that is changed. And do we want to, I guess we're unitalicizing the ones that we finished? Okay,
Okay, I make a motion.
yes.
Equal parenting, can we change that to two-parent solution? No? All right, y'all go ahead then.
Oh, did we, I think we actually did finalize that one as equal parenting. Yeah. Okay, eliminate school M&O property taxes. What did we, I remember we had a big discussion about this one. Wasn't it going to be acts?
It was to add M&O.
Yeah, but I think we wanted to use like axe the tax language on this too.
Oh, do you want to use axe the tax or
think
pathway
we were going
pathway
to.
property tax elimination?
Honestly, I'd move to adopt it as is. It's clear. It actually tells you exactly what's happening. And you don't need to put a hat on a hat to make eliminating property taxes sexy. That's it.
Okay, I actually, so there's a state legislator who literally texted me and said, change the title of that to axe the school M&O property tax because it's sexier.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, hey, look, axe the M&O property tax is great because that leave the school M&O property tax portion. That's fine.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I'll tell you who it was afterward. Okay. All right.
Silver
So,
and gold? Can I do silver and gold?
Sure.
Silver and gold, financial freedom.
Okay.
Actually, we have language that was we had language that was given to us for this as well. It was fight inflation, and central bank digital currency. Something to that effect.
I don't like that because that doesn't
Okay.
actually say what it really does. I like.
Financial freedom.
Yeah.
Yes, Representative DeRazio suggested that.
Oh, okay, good. Not feed them. I don't want that.
I think the ban the taxpayer-funded lobbying can stay. It's been,
Yeah.
everybody knows what that is.
As well as no
I think
Democrat chairs.
we need a capital F on funded.
Yes.
Okay, harden the electric grid. Paul?
I'm sorry, I was going to jump to abolish abortion and support adoption.
Oh, okay.
Can we do that with no Democrat chairs as well? Or do you want to change that?
Well, okay, hang on. The first motion that was just made was abolish abortion and support adoption. Is there a word that we could use instead of support that starts with an A? Advance adoption. Abolish abortion and advance adoption. Do you like that? You don't like it? You don't like all the A's?
You might reverse the order of those two, advance adoption and abolish abortion.
No. Okay. So you don't like advance adoption? You want it to say support? Okay. We'll put it back to support. Some people are just no fun. Promote adoption. Okay.
there's a ban sale of Texas on the survey.
Ban the, yeah, that's the title we've been using for a while.
It's the
Oh,
ban
okay.
to China.
Yeah. So, okay, so one thing that is kind of important here, I'm not sure what the Scantron ballot is going to look like. Well, no, the Scantron ballot is just going to have numbers. So I think people will be flipping through and they'll be able to see the language under each one. But the title is definitely going to be what they look at first when they vote on these.
Is that on
Huh? On Saturday? No, that's on Friday. Yeah, it's on Friday. Okay, what do we want to do for harden the electric grid?
Save our way of life.
Secure the grid. Secure the grid? Okay.
How about reliable power, secure the grid?
Reliable power, secure the grid?
That sounds like a sequel.
Reliable power too. Literal electric boogaloo. Okay, are we fine with reliable power, secure the grid?
Our preference is just secure the grid.
All right. Everybody who wants secure the grid, say aye.
Aye.
Everyone who wants something else, say aye. Aye. Okay, we're going to stick with it. All right. Ban casino gambling and sports betting. This is one where I think we can punch it up a little bit. What about protect Texas from casino? Yeah.
Don't
gambling
gamble
or something
Texas's
like
future.
Don't Louisiana my Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lose all of SD3 and win all the others.
Yeah. Don't Nevada my Texas.
Don't gamble.
Okay.
Ban casino gambling is really clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't gamble Texas. Don't gamble Texas's future.
That's great. That's it. It's don't gamble Texas's future. Everyone okay with that?
That doesn't explain what it's about.
It doesn't explain, it's
What
cute,
it
but
is
it
right
doesn't
now is
explain.
quite clear.
Well, I mean, it's the shortest one.
Well,
So it's a one-sentence priority, just for the record. It's a
priority is
very
almost-
concise
It's
priority.
self-explanatory. People don't even need to read the item to know what it is.
That's longer than the whole,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
Ban casinos. We all know what that means.
That might be too much. Okay. So everyone who's okay with don't gamble Texas's future, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I think that passed.
You can go to division if you want.
Mr. Chairman.
We could always do that.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Ban, yes.
Can I do the last one, please? Sexual orientation, gender ideology. Can we do stop grooming Texas kids?
Can I speak against using the word grooming? Although it's good for when you're talking to delegates, it's bad for legislation. It would be much better to say stop sexualizing Texas kids. To use the word
I
sexualizing.
think that's the language we've been using as we kind of talk about.
It's
this
just
all.
better legislatively, and that'd be my main reasoning for that.
Grooming has a specific definition.
Yeah. Everyone okay with stop sexualizing Texas kids?
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
If we're done, I have a motion.
We're not done. We're not done. Okay, we still need a title for what do we have for not selling Texas to overseas enemies? What? Someone come up with something. While I text Virgil and see if Texas apostrophe is correct.
Texas is not for sale.
You know, I like that. I like that. Texas is not for sale. Texas is not for sale. Is anyone not okay with Texas is not for sale?
Like it.
All right.
I think judicial accountability can kind of stay like it is unless there's a better.
That's good.
We leave judicial accountability the way it is?
I thought someone said something about rogue judges, like rein in rogue judges or something like that.
All right. All right. I think no Democrat chairs is pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
So are we good with keeping that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same with judicial accountability. I think it's good to go.
On judicial accountability, somebody said stop rogue judges.
It's more than that.
Yeah, but it's a nice punchy title.
It's it's it.
Was rein in rogue judges.
Can I be clear on the?
Okay. All right. you don't want to have to go back to the printer and get that redone.
Scott, just ask on Democrat chairs. Is it no Democrat chairs or ban Democrat chairs?
I think it's just no Democrat chairs.
Yeah.
Too many of these. We don't want every single one of these to say ban.
And just to say on judicial accountability, when you say rogue judges, like again, it's a selling point, but like half the things in there are not rogue judge items. It's about transparency things that are just systematic problems, not individual bad judge problems. So I think
Are we happy with let Texas run Texas the way it is?
It should be Texans run Texas. Well, Texas is legislature.
It's good the way it is.
I think it's good the way it is.
May I, one item for that? Sorry, it's late and we're tired. I'm sorry, but I have to say it. All of those things are car-based, so it should be let Texans drive Texas.
Except the vaccine thing.
But drive is like is also a word for like direct and or steer.
Anyone have really strong feelings about that? Christy, I know this was Okay, anyone have strong feelings about let Texas drive Texas? I know this was kind of the one that you wanted some stuff in. Spencer.
There's medical freedom in that too, so I don't think we need to do. I think it needs to be let Texas run Texas.
Okay. Is it just keep it as let Texas run Texas? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. What are we going to call election reforms?
That's good too.
Secure Texas elections.
Yeah.
It's just
I like secure.
Oh, that's right.
Does anyone want to replace let Texas run Texas with state sovereignty?
I particularly object to it because it creates ambiguity with something that was specifically left off this list.
Okay. All right, we've got two left. Secure Texas elections.
That's pretty clear.
Okay. All right, we'll leave that. And then what do we want to do on border enforcement and internal?
The word internal is a repetitive redundancy. You're either in Texas or you're not.
Yeah, and they're not really immigration controls even. They're
well, we don't have any external controls.
Border enforcement is just a title, and it's catchy.
I'd be happy with just border enforcement.
All right. Do you want to? Anyone object to leaving it as border enforcement?
No.
All right.
I like it.
Okay. Does anyone want to change it to stop the invasion? Okay. All right. I think we have our titles. Are any last minute heartburn about any of these? Do we have poll results?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a motion before adjournment. I noted a number of typos and grammatical errors. I move to authorize the chairman to correct those.
Okay, that motion has been made. Is there a second? Second. All right, and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. All right.
Get clear, that's about the chairman, not the secretary.
It's going to be the chairman and the secretary.
The chairman to
and
delegate.
probably Virgil also. So. Yeah, I already asked Virgil if Texas apostrophe was correct. Okay, so survey results are the last thing we're waiting on. Okay, we have 28. We need to figure out. We have no 21 came back.
I just sent mine.
Yeah, 21 is here. 23 is not. 27 is, yeah, that's you.
I did mine.
Yeah.
Chairman?
Did you get
Yes.
Is there any way we can get a hard copy for our SDs?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to email them out, and you could print them immediately. I think they're also going to be posted on the website. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just to kind of fill y'all in, the schedule of what happens next. Yeah, actually, let's talk about that real fast while we're finishing up surveys. So tomorrow, we have the first real thing that happens is General Session 1. And actually, if you look at your at the back of your name tag, this has the high points. So first General Session, that is going to be that's going to be a lot of speeches, a lot of not a whole lot of real business being transacted. Yeah, so that is where all of the temporary committees will give their first report. So there's not much to that. I just go out there and say, the committee met, we did such and such, this is our report. That's literally all that happens. The really important thing for y'all tomorrow starts at 2:30. That is your first Senate District Caucus meeting. Every single one of you is going to need to give a report to your caucus about what we did in the Legislative Priorities Committee. And so you should have the list of legislative priorities. Yeah, you're going to give the report in ours. Yep, sorry, you don't get out of it. Then after that, you have to get reelected to this committee. So make sure you get reelected. So that goes from 2:30 to 4:15. Then after that, and I believe I think the chair votes. No, the chair votes don't happen then. I think that's. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at exactly what else happens then. But CD caucuses are after that. CD caucuses are from 4:45 to 6:15. You are probably going to have to leave those early because we have to be here at 6 o'clock sharp. And we are on a very, very tight schedule tomorrow. Once we get here at 6 o'clock, because we have to have the report locked in at 10 p.m. So that it can go for printing. So that gives us 4 hours and we're also going to get a bunch of people who want to testify, like people who haven't been here yet, like legislators and people like that. Not legislators like Bob Hall who work with us, but other legislators who get here later. So we'll see. We'll see a lot. We'll see 1 or 2 hours of that, and then probably not have a whole lot of time for deliberations.
Scott, I'm just waiting on SD 7 and 17.
7, SD 7 and SD 17. Teresa, do your survey.
I am. I don't like it.
Oh.
Okay. And Henry, have you done your survey? Oh, you need to do your survey. Yes. Yes. Not tonight. I'm gonna email it out, and if you want to print it yourself, you can. But it'll be posted on the website for everybody tomorrow. So, yes.
How do we present to our?
Read it to them. I would read them the titles. Yeah, I would read them the titles and then just kind of talk about what you did, what you considered. Was there any, I'll send out a little email with a few talking points too. Maybe that'll be helpful, like we listened to this much testimony, heard from this many people, that kind of thing. Yeah, so maybe that'll be helpful to you guys.
Before we adjourn, I did want to thank our secretary, Michael.
Yes.
For doing a great job.
Michael, thank you.
And And I also want to thank Scott for being an awesome chairman.
Thank you. We're not done yet. Withhold your thanking until after tomorrow. Okay, so are we still missing any survey results? Okay. All right. All right, yeah.
If y'all haven't seen them, the bags are up here.
I don't think have stuff in it.
No, they're bright red.
Titanic sinks. Yes. Extra bag. No, I'm just saying.
We're about to show our ranking. We do have all the results in.
This is the ranking?
Yes. For sure. Absolutely. You're welcome. Yes. Yes, we will. We do need to take a final vote. So don't
we need to take a
leave
vote?
yet. And actually, there's something I need to check too. Yes. All right, and there's a particular format to the final motion we make too. All right, still waiting. All right. Okay, so for now, and this may change in the permanent committee, but for now, we're going to put the ranking up. And is there a motion to accept the ranking as it is?
I make the motion.
All right, that has been moved. All right, yeah, I'm glad we moved that before we knew what it was. So that is our ranking. All right. All right, so I'm now going to make the only motion. This is actually the only motion that we report out to the temporary, or that we report out of committee to the convention. It goes like this. So I move that the legislative priorities as perfected by committee be forwarded to the Permanent Legislative Priorities Committee for its consideration.
Second.
All right, that has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. I think it's,
Yes.